Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the World Online Racing YouTube channel. We are stateside once again here in WOR. It's the Circuit of the Americas, a fantastic circuit in what has already been a fantastic championship. Really looking forward to this one this evening. My name is Dan Field. Once again, for the entire season thus far, I'm being joined by Nathan Richards. Nathan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. For once, I've had a relaxed Sunday, so I'm nice, relaxed, ready for some what should be great qualifying and great racing. When we talk about qualifying, we'll see if we actually get a Q1 today, like we did the last time in Vegas. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the championship can go. Obviously, Eastman's got quite a big lead, but you've got quite a big battle in your second down for round 7. So I think there's still a lot to play for here on in round 4. And obviously, we've got lots of Otis and Danny as well making their first appearances. So I think, yeah, we've got probably, as I said to you before the stream, probably our strongest grid this season, I think.
Yeah, we do have a fantastic grid coming into this one this evening. We'll have a look at it in just a few minutes' time. Let's have a look at the results from Las Vegas. Of course, Ismail Fassi winning that race after all that drama on the final lap of the Grand Prix ahead of Nicolas Longuet. Post-Stewards results, Barry Burmand ends up taking third position after getting his 3-second time penalty removed. That unfortunately relegated Duncan Hoffland off of the top 3 and into 4th position, just ahead of Tamas Gal, the pole sitter for that race. Daniel Shelson in 6th, 7th was Dylan Warren. Jan Otmir, disappointing 8th for him there. 9th was Shimon Lekomsky, and then rounding out that top 10 was Rishan Jacobs, a sea of reserve drivers in that field, and we'll see how that affects the standings. Ismail Fassi is his championship at the minute, currently sitting on 60 points. He has had a fantastic start to the season, 2 wins in 3 races. Can he make it 3 and 4? We'll have to wait and see. Joseph Loke, of course, didn't race last time out, so he remains on 36 points, but still ahead of Jarno Otmir. Disappointing day for Jarno in Las Vegas. Maybe it will be better in Kota. Dylan Warren, a very impressive 4th position so far for him in the championship, ahead of Nicolas Longuet, who's got to say, I think he missed the first round if I'm not mistaken, so he is lagging behind ever so slightly on points. Max Wiesel is 6th after his Silverstone win. Duncan Hoffland, unfortunately, not taking that podium. He is a little bit further off to Duncan Hoffland than he was before. Barry Burmand with his first points of the season in 8th on 15, just 1 point ahead of Tamas Gal, and then Daniel Shelson is rounding out the top 10. And let's have a look at the grid this evening. As Nathan mentioned, it is probably one of the best we've had so far this season. In the Red Bull, it is Shanika Clay once again being joined by Daniel Shelson. This time by Ferrari remains the same with Barry Burmand and Nicolas Longuet. Then Jan Otmir and Jake Benham once again pulling up the reins for Mercedes. Jake, of course, missing last time out in Las Vegas. He comes back for Kota today. Philip Presnader lines up in the Alpine alongside Andrei Tarabukin. And then in the McLaren, we've got 2 debutants this season, Otis Lawrence and Danny Bergenay. If you remember, Danny Bergenay, all the way back in, I think, season 12, he won his first ever WOR race. Alfa Romeo, Joseph Loke makes his return this evening alongside Dylan Warren for an all-British lineup. Then Fabrizio Donoso and Duncan Hoffland, the ever-familiar Aston Martin lineup. Ben Schaperkrony and Xander Van Dyken line up in the Haas, and then Reese Linton comes back in the AlphaTauri alongside Esteban Pookie. Then rounding out the grid, it is of course the all-Spanish lineup of Alvaro Carreton and your championship leader Ismail Fassi. Nathan, great grid tonight.
Yeah, and I think going into this season, Ismail Fassi, I expected him to do well, but I didn't think he'd be in the championship. And that's what we saw in Las Vegas. It was just dominant form. He did such a good job at the race. He obviously didn't start on pole, but he worked his way back up to that top position and held it pretty much the whole race. Yes, there was a little bit of carnage behind with people battling, but honestly, I think even this early, we could probably definitely class him as someone who I think could win it. Because yes, we know it's on the early and anything can change, but the way his form has been consistently so far, he only had that little bit of a drop in Britain where he got 5th. But still, if he can get consistent top 5s, I think that could be enough to get him the championship, because there'll be many drivers in here who might miss a race here, who might miss a race there. Obviously, the likes of Josie Floke already has done so. Obviously, wasn't here back in Vegas. So I think that's what could give him that edge to try and win the championship, as long as he's here for all the races that we're going to have here at WR. Obviously, last season here at Texas, it was Lucas Blake that won the race ahead of Jan Otmir and Danny Bergen. Obviously, Danny's here today for his first race this season, so we'll see if he can try and get another back-to-back podium here at Texas on his debut. Jarno as well, been here most seasons. He's had 2 top 3s already this season. Unfortunately, Lucas Blakely isn't going to be racing with us here this season at WOR, so we've got a chance to have, we've got a chance to have all 3 new drivers on the podium, but we've got a chance to have 2 drivers on the podium that were here last season on the podium. So, yes, I think we've got quite an exciting race.
Absolutely, of course. Circuit of the Americas always does provide a fantastic show. I believe last time out it was Jan Otmir that took victory around this circuit. He loves America apparently because he won all three of the American races, that triple header last season. Unfortunately, the streak was broken last time out in Las Vegas, but maybe he can revitalise that strength that he had from his championship winning season at 15, because he's been off to a bit of a slow start so far this season, despite starting in third position, running in third position at the minute. He has yet to score a win, and in fact his highest position only P3. So Jan Otmir does have to step it up this evening. Nathan, I don't know if you've noticed, but I can see in the lobby we've talked about Faiska, which we think is Fabrizio Donoso. We've got Carlos Sainz in here. Which
Really?
It says Carlos Sainz and is in the Ferrari. I believe that is Barry Burman, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know why that's coming up for me there.
Well, for me, I've got Barry and Nico.
I've got Carlos Sainz, so yeah.
So is it Nicholas Longe and Carlos Sainz?
It's Nicholas Longe and Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. I'll bring everyone over to the game scene so you can actually see. We're in the lobby at the minute. Carlos Sainz is in the Ferrari. I'll check in just a moment's time if that is actually Barry Burman, because I'd imagine that it is. For some reason it's coming. Yeah, no, I've checked his Steam, and it is Barry Burman indeed, but yeah. He's Carlos Sainz on my end. I'll restart Steam and Discord F123 after the lobby restart, because Nathan, let's face it, we're definitely going to have a lobby restart here. It's just typical at this point, especially on F123. But let's talk about this track, Circuit of the Americas, a track that drivers know very well, so it should be a fun one today.
It sure, yeah, it's a beautiful track. I think it's a bit underrated. People hate on it for absolutely no reason. I think even in real life, it always produces great races. Here in esports, there's never been a dull race here at Texas. Rain as well. If that gets thrown into it, could be even more interesting. I was doing a race the other night, and it was at Texas, and it was wet, and the qualifying was quite interesting. So we'll see if that produces any issues with us tonight, and we'll see. Maybe we could see a bit of a different pecking order in qualifying if we do see that wet weather, because we do tend to see that sometimes. We see some drivers. When it's maybe a full wet or an intermediate qualifying / race, we tend to see more people at the top, people that, sometimes aren't as quick on the dry, but are quicker in the wet, because obviously the wet we never really see. You never really get to see them at their top form. So maybe if it does rain tonight, we could see some new drivers up in the points or new drivers up near the top. It'd be nice to see that. Obviously, along with Otis and Danny making the first sprints, we've got Andrew Tobukin and Reese Linton. So I'm very keen to see how those two can get on. Reese obviously used to race over on the Xbox side. I can't exactly remember what his game tag was, but I'm sure it was PSR or something. And then obviously Andrew Tobukin been around for a very long time. I think he's one of the drivers I've seen ever since I was involved with the community back at the end of 2021. So yeah, I'm kind of keen to see how he can get on. Obviously part of the Alpine team as I believe it's a development driver this season. So yes, we'll see what he's able to do tonight alongside Philip Preschnader.
And if you can hear the beeping in your ears there, that means that qualifying is about to get underway. Of course, we've got the three-peat session, so Q1 is coming up, 18 minutes, where the bottom 5 get eliminated. I do believe quite a few drivers are starting right at the back. The only one that I know for sure is starting last is Otis Lawrence, but I saw something in the Discord chat about everyone just getting themselves DSQ so we can go straight into Q2. Not too sure how we're going to handle that, but we have 20 seconds before we are into the lobby, and we can see some cars out on circuit. You make an interesting point there, Nathan, about there being potential for rain. Of course, if you remember season 13 qualifying, we had a wet weather affected session. I believe Alvaro Carreton took pole position in that one there, so we'll see how the drivers fare around this circuit. We're just loading into the lobby now, so I can bring you over to the game scene once we've loaded in. You can see nice clear skies with a little bit of cloud coverage up ahead, but no signs of rains early on. The in-game fans very excited to get this one underway. Nathan, I'm very excited, and I think you are too.
Yes, but we're not going to get underway just yet, because there's been a message in the chat saying the drivers are driving backwards to DSQ themselves so we can go straight into Q2. So the 18-minute Q1 is pretty much being eliminated. So it'll just be Q2 and Q3. So I'm sure we'll see the first 5 DSQ first, and then the others will follow suit afterwards. Otherwise, we'll end up having a random bottom 5 out in qualifying, and then Jake Benham also is going to be joining us in for the race. I think the ones that are starting from the back is Otis, and then the 3 Ferraris, isn't it? As we always see the 3 Ferraris start from the back. So I think that's probably the 4 that aren't going to start Yes, you want. And then if there's a fifth, no, because there's only 19 lobbies, so yeah, it'll just be the bottom four that'll go out. So luckily, we won't have anyone else go out with them. And you got Faceker, which is, we believe, from Ezio Donoso on circuit, and I don't think he's got the memo because he's going for an 8 lap on the Inters.
Fair enough. Maybe it's just the drivers that are going to disqualify themselves that are going to turn around. There's a McLaren coming out the pit lane now. Is that Otis Lawrence? Indeed, it is the first sign we are seeing of him in a WOR lobby, and instantly going to spin the car.
Oh.
He's been reset to track. That's quite funny there. So yeah, indeed, he's going to turn around and disqualify himself from the session. So very limited Otis Lawrence running. There it is. Disqualified from session, going the wrong way. I'd imagine many other drivers to do the same. If we can get some confirmation as well in the live chat as to who is actually Faceker, because I believe this is Fabrizio Donoso. I looked on the account. It's Miguel, apparently, who's apparently working at Aston Martin. I'm not too sure what's going on there, but I do believe that this is Fabrizio Donoso. We've also had word in the chat that Jake Benham is joining for the race, so we will have 20 drivers on, here this evening. Jake Benham is just joining a little bit later, so he is already being eliminated from Q1. You can see Barry Burman is out on circuit. Interestingly enough, Nathan, on a set of the medium compound tyres, we don't typically see this.
Yeah, you don't normally see them get rid of the medium tyres so early, would you? Obviously, they're not going to be that usy, but he's only doing half a lap, but you wouldn't expect them to, at least go out and you think maybe he's to take a set of wets or inters so we can eliminate that fact of using the medium tyres. Obviously, you can afford to take wets and inters because we don't think it'll rain in the end of qualifying and then going into the race. We have a restart, so it's already different tyres. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, we got Fabrizio Donoso on circuit. He's starting a new lap. We've got Joseph Flocos on circuit. He said in the Discord that he'll be hitting Q1, but I don't think that's going to be very likely. And Barry has been disqualified for being in a dangerous location, something that we expected to see. Then we've also got Reese Linton on circuit as well, so only a couple of drivers out. So hopefully we can hurry up this procedure of disqualifying people so we can actually get some action in Q2, because the only action we've got so far is Fabrizio Donoso, who we believe is Fabrizio Donoso, racing as Miguel. They're going down in towards turn 11.
Yeah, on his set of the intermediate tyres, I'd imagine that drivers just want to get a little bit of running on this set anyways, maybe if there is, just to check any issues that they might have. But we do have word that both the Ferraris, so that'd be Carlos Sainz, who's already eliminated, that's Barry Burman out of the session, as well as Nicolas Longe, and then Esteban Pookie, which is typically what we see. For some reason it said, though, Barry Burman has actually retired from the session, and he's not being eliminated at this moment in time. Very interesting to see. It's got Otis Lawrence listed as a DSQ, but not Barry, so very interested to see what's happened there. Never mind, it's changed and he's left the session, so fingers crossed that it stays that way. Hopefully we are going to get straight into Q2, but we are yet to see the likes of Nicolas Longe and Istvan Pookie come out onto the circuit so they can actually get themselves disqualified. Fingers crossed that is the case soon, as it doesn't seem like there's any slick running at the minute. They're all just on their intermediate sets. Fabrizio Donoso comes across the line with a 37.6. Nathan, I'd imagine we're going to see a much quicker time for pole here this evening.
Yeah, so I'd hope we see a much quicker time than 37.6, otherwise I'd have a decent chance myself at taking pole. But obviously, yeah, the intermediate tyres are going to be a lot slower at the start of the session. Obviously, it's in Q1 anyway, so there's already less grip. Especially on these inters, makes it even worse. We've got Josie Flock, who's on a lap on the inters. Reese Linton, who's taking the wets out for a lap. It's not something we see too often, even in IRL F1, these wet tyres. They don't really like to make an appearance too often. We've got Istvan Pookie, who's going out on a set of softs, and he's going to be disqualified. So, yes, Istvan Pookie's out of session. Reese Linton's spun down at turn 11, so he definitely doesn't like those wet stuff, and that's definitely at the equation for him when we get in towards Q2. Shanaka Clay also on a set of inters, obviously, because we had this bit of a downtime where the drivers are going to be getting out and just retiring, just give the chance of some drivers to get out and just double check everything's working fine for when we move over into Q2, because there's less time. You don't really want to waste too much time going out on a set of inters at the start of Q2, because you've got 3 minutes less, so that's pretty much one run less in that second qualifying session. Josie Flirt goes quickest by 0.3 of a second with a 1 minute 37.343. And I don't think anyone will beat that, because I don't think anyone else is going to be setting a lap time in this session. So hopefully we can get Nicolas Longe out shortly so he can then go and DSQ themselves and the others can retire afterwards, so we can get started in towards Q2. But yes, it's been quite an anticlimactic start to Q1. But then sometimes that makes Q2 and Q3 even better. Yeah, because you then give a chance for other drivers to get themselves into that higher levels of qualifying.
Yeah, we just get to take it easy for this session, relax a little bit as Reece Linton comes across the line at 47.7. I think he'd be pretty glad that no one is really qualifying in this session. Ismail Fassi is out on circuit on a set of the wets. We're just waiting on Nicholas Longue now, the last driver that needs to get himself DSQ from this session. Dylan Warren has just begun a lap again on a set of the full wets. I want to see someone take some drifting into that Estes section. I think it'd be a really fun part of the track to go for a little slide. Joseph Lokers, he's spun off down at turn 11. He's given us his own little drift show, headed down at this back stretch. Nathan, of course, in towards turn number 12. I believe this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for the drivers to find some overtakes. Shanaka Clay comes to line, 37.2, but in towards this braking zone, it's of course the heaviest part of the circuit. Joseph Lokes spins the car through there. We're definitely going to see some lurching moves up the inside. There we go. We see Nicholas Longue disqualify himself from the session. That should give everyone else the green light to retire from the session. We should be getting into Q2 soon.
Yeah, I think the good thing about this circuit is, obviously, the first sector's quite difficult to make any overtakes, apart from possibly down in towards turn 11 at the hairpin. But I think turn 12 onwards, you can pretty much go side by side through all corners. I think, especially you got that weird bit turns, I think turns 14 through towards turn 16, you kind of having to miss apexes a little bit deep once to get a good run. We do tend to see lots of great battling through that section, so I'm quite excited to see what the drivers can get up to down there. Then obviously the final corner, we do sometimes see moves, not as, not too often, but sometimes if someone makes a bit of a mistake when at turn 19 or lifting off, not to get themselves a track limit warning, we could see a move going towards that final corner, and then obviously down towards turn 1, we sometimes do see some lunges, but with it being kind of a blind hill up towards turn 1, we tend to see people sometimes go a little bit too straight at that corner and lock up, and that can also cause some carnage. But yeah, I'm quite excited to see how we can go. I think this is one of the tracks that brings quite a lot of racing, because as well, you're not always that close to a wall, so you can spin off but still recover the car and continue, whereas some tracks, you don't really have that leeway.
Yeah, it is a bit of a forgiving circuit. I think that typically is what happens with these modern day Formula 1 tracks. They give a lot more room to the drivers, but I am a fan of there being grass and gravel along this circuit. Someone with these modern runoffs, no gravel, nothing, just asphalt really. It allows for the drivers to not get punished at all for their mistakes, which isn't how it should be. So I am a fan of this track. And into that turn number 1, it's interesting you say that drivers tend to lock up. Of course, with that uphill corner, it actually is a bit more forgiving in terms of braking, so you can go a bit deeper on the brakes without fear of locking up. And so in towards that first corner, definitely could be an opportunity for the drivers to have an eye in there, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, you're giving up DRS for that back straight in towards turn number 12 with that overtake, so really is the sacrifice that you make there, as we're just waiting for the last few drivers to disqualify them, not disqualify themselves, but retire from this session. Please, Alvaro, retire. He's going to come around for his outlap and set a lap on a set of the wets, so he's just holding everyone up here. Not my favourite thing, Alvaro. Please just chop, as Ismail Fassi, wow, big slide through the final corner there. He will come into the pit lane, presumably to retire from this session. Is now Daniel Shelson as well in that final sector. I love that camera angle because we saw Alvaro come through turn number 1 whilst watching Daniel Shelson through the final corner there, as now he will come into the pit lane. We're just waiting on Alvaro now.
Yes, trying to get yourself a bit of airtime. Very nice there from Alvaro for himself. But it's not good for us because we want to get on to Q2 and not sit here watching the Williams going on wet tyres. So Daniel's into the pits. He'll retire very shortly. So we need to wait on Alvaro just heading down in towards turn 11. I believe he'll set this lap. Otherwise, he'll just go back into the pits and then retire from the session. Or if he'd like to, just bin it into the wall. Get it done over with. I'm sure 10 corners is enough to check that everything's working correctly. And if it's not, then we'll have to wait for him to do the whole lap long. But yeah, I think going into Q2, obviously we've got lots of Istvan, Barry, Nico and Otis, 4 drivers that I think can comfortably get into Q3 nearly every session. Going to be out in Q1. I mean, we can see some new drivers get themselves in towards that Q3 possibly, which I think is always great to see. Always see new drivers in, different. It's kind of a different atmosphere, isn't it? If you're normally starting at the back and then you're starting that top 10, it is a lot of a different thing. Is that you gotta play your cards differently sometimes. So I think it also gives practice for other drivers to try and fight in that midfield, or maybe if they get a good lap in Q3, fight near the top, which is something I think we always love to see, and it's always good for the drivers and the teams as well to see their drivers being able to perform at that top level. We can just see Alvaro coming into the final corner. He'll set a lap time, and it won't be anything competitive. It'll be 1 minute 40, 1.2, and spins and hits a wall. So well done, Alvaro. Can you now retire?
There we
Thank
go.
you.
I was scared that he was going to complete the lap, then do a full in lap.
Imagine.
And I'd have been quite angry if he did that. But luckily, Alvaro Caratoni knows that he's holding everyone up at this point. Just has a little bit of fun out on circuit. And we'll see the end of Q1. A very anticlimactic session. We've only got 5 laps on the board, but Shanika Clay is the fastest. And let's have a look at some of the drivers who we could potentially see fighting for pole position. Danny Berejnay, Jarno Opmeer in this session. We've also got Alvaro Caraton, of course, pole sitter in Season 13. Fabrizio Donoso, Joseph Loke, Shanika Clay, Nathan. It's looking like and Ishmael Fassi as well, championship leader. It's looking like a fantastic session for the remaining parts of qualifying. But looking at the drivers that went out is Istvan Pukki, Barry Burman, Nicholas Longate, and Otis Lawrence. Coming back, of course, from not racing all season, Otis Lawrence, I would have loved to see him do a few laps of qualifying and maybe fight for pole position. He's done straight away.
Yes, yes. We'll see him in the race, and hopefully he can make himself a little bit higher than I think he'll be on 20th, unless Jake ends up starting behind him because he's going to join after quali. But it's starting to go a little bit overcast, and I had a message from someone saying that it will be rain plus 30. So I don't think that's for the qualifying, and if it is, it's going overcast, so that could be possible. So we could see rain in the next 10 minutes.
Oh, and I wonder, as we head back over to the game scene now, I wonder if that's why we've seen so many drivers pour instantly out onto the circuit. It's the 2 Williams out first, championship leader Ishmael Fassi and Alvaro Caraton. I wonder, is there rain imminent in this session? That's why they all want to get their laps on the board, as Alvaro Caraton is going to overtake his teammate. They are piling into this first sector. It's looking like lap number 1, just a little bit slower at this point. So Shanika Clay, the only driver in the pits, he's just coming out now. Nathan, we've seen 5 laps in Q1. All of a sudden, 15 drivers out instantly in Q2.
Yes, so this could get quite messy, couldn't it, at the final corner down towards turn 1, because everyone's rushing on to get a lap time and trying to get the best conditions before the rain arrives, which could be very imminent. I'm sure we'll start to see it pouring down shortly, and I think I can actually see there is rain. There's rain, it's already raining. Oh, well, this could be interesting, couldn't it? That's why everyone's trying to make overtakes. There was already rain on the track, and we know that instantly you'll see a bit of a drop off on the tyres, and the tyres will crumble down. Well, I think it'll be the last 5 over the line going to be the ones that are probably head to Q2.
Well, Shanika Clay at the minute is right at the back. Fabrizio Donoso as well. The 2 Alfa Romeos and then one of the Hasses. Is that Ben Jabaconi? Indeed it is. These are the drivers that are the last 5 out on the circuit. We've got 13 minutes left in this session, and I'm wondering, are those 5 going to be the ones to get eliminated here? Surely Alvaro Caraton is going to have the best track conditions, because it's going to be ever so slightly drier on his lap than everyone else, and those little bits of grip are definitely that's good. Well, I'm losing my words. That's going to benefit him the most here. Is now off the exit of the final corner to begin his first proper lap of this session, climbing up the hill in towards turn number 1. We'll see him reach speeds of up to 302 kilometers per hour. We're just waiting for the rain to really hit, and these drivers begin to sluggishly crawl around this circuit. Already Alvaro's being a little bit tentative on the throttle out of turn at number 1, and now in towards this first sector. Normally you could take this with much more aggression, but he's being a lot more conservative, a lot more careful along here, because one slight mistake could instantly see his qualifying out the window. The track conditions are not going to get better in this session than they are now, so Alvaro, he's got to get this lap on the board and be as quick as he can. Now downhill and towards turn number 11, you can already see the spray beginning to build off the tyres. This is where we saw the rain initially fall onto the circuit. Now opening up the DRS to head now down in towards turn number 12. Normally we're going to see much quicker speeds than what we have at the minute, but coming in towards the braking zone, Alvaro Caraton 19 kilometers per hour in that braking zone, so not as quick as we'd normally see. And already, Nathan, look at all these damp spots along the circuit. The rain is coming, it's come fast.
It's indeed. I'm watching Jarno Opmeer. It's like watching like one of a race. They're all following each other through the corners. Jarno's pretty much pushing the Alpine through, and Darius has been disabled. So those guys on that back straight are in a bit of trouble now. So I think it will literally be the last 5 out on track are going to be out. So yes, this could be quite treacherous. But Jarno also has been a little bit held up by this Alpine ahead, so he could also be in a bit of danger.
Well, we saw Shanika Clay not get any DRS down that back straight where you really do need it. Alvaro Caraton is going to come out the final corner. presumably to set the quickest time of this session, a 40.4 on this set of the slicks. Ismail Fassi second, third is Duncan Hoffland. Now Ismail Fassi beginning to fall down the order ever so slightly, but Andrei Tarabukin, he's already come into the pit lane, seeing that session to the end because he invalidated a huge blunder from him there. Shanaka Clay is in that drop zone at the minute. I'd imagine that Ben Chabaconni's not going to get out the session. None of these guys will. Joseph Loke in 12th. It's going to be Fabrizio Donoso, presumably in 13th. No, he's going to go ever so slightly ahead of Joseph Loke. Shanaka Clay 14th, and already, Nathan, that is going to bring this qualifying session to an end. Ben Chabaconni, Fabrizio Donoso, Joseph Loke, Shanaka Clay, and Andrei Tarabukin, they are not going to do any quicker times on a set of the intermediates or the wets. Their sessions are over.
Yeah, indeed, that was, well, it was an interesting Q2 indeed. Yet again, very anticlimactic Q2, so we haven't had the best start to qualifying here at Texas, but Q3 is looking quite interesting. We've got lots of Reese Linton, I believe this is his debut race here at WR. He's going to be in the top 10 for his first appearance as well. And Danny Berger also, on his first appearance this season, going to be starting in Q3, so at least in that top 10. And also, Philip Prestrader back in the top 10 again. It's great to see him fighting in Q3. We've got Daniel Kjelsen as well in that top 10. So we've got some drivers that we don't normally see at the top today, which I think is a great thing to see. But yeah, a big shame for the likes of Shanaka Clay and Fabrizio Donoso, who are guys we expect normally to be fighting for that Q3. But due to this, you know, this rain, it just eliminated any chance of them doing anything. There's nothing they can do. You can be the fastest driver in the world, but you're not going to get yourself through to Q3 when the track is like this. So a big shame for those drivers who are going to struggle. We got Andrew Tarabukin going out and track on Inters. Maybe they could be a little bit quicker and put himself into a 41.8, but I doubt it. I don't think he'll find much in, but we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, he's already out on his outlap and ever so slightly struggling on the set of the intermediates, but we're definitely in that window where the intermediates are the stronger tyres, so maybe he can get himself ever so slightly higher up the order, potentially quicker than the likes of Joseph Loke and Shanaka Clay, and you know, if he's not looking to go into Q3 here. But Reese Linton was a decent bit ahead on circuit than Ben Chabaconni, and the difference in time is paramount. Reese Linton is what, 8 tenths of a second clear of Ben Chabaconni, as now Andrei Tarabukin heads through turn at number 12. No DRS on his lap is also really going to hinder him, and I think that might be the thing that actually makes a difference in these laps. He could set a similar time on a set of the intermediates to everyone struggling on the soft, but without that DRS, he's not going to have that drag reduction down those straights, and so he's going to lose crucial kilometers per hour of top speed, which I just don't know if he's going to be able to make back, but we'll see if he's able to get a lap on the board at the very least, maybe jump himself ahead of Joseph Loke and Shanaka Clay. We'll have to wait and see, Nathan.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's definitely got it to be able to get ahead of Joseph and Shanaka. Obviously, to get ahead of the other two, I'm not quite sure, because obviously I think they had a bit of DRS down towards turn 12. But I think even if you're in 15th now, if you can get yourself into 13th, it's 2 extra positions. It does help you for the race, of course, just being that little bit closer to that top 10. So he's heading on that now, just heading up in towards that first corner in these treacherous intermediate conditions on the soft. I'd say this would probably be a little bit worse because, you know, you're on slicks in the wets. Here, you literally got tyres that work well with the conditions, or work somewhat well with the conditions. Just heading through the S's section now. You can also see Alvaro Carlton out on an out lap, so maybe he's doing a bit of a test if, in case it will rain in the race. Just coming through up towards the top of the hill at turn 9 is Andres Tarabukin. Back to the left, then you have a bit of a kink at turn 10. One invalidate, so that's his lap room, and we'll see if he completes the lap. Maybe he could see if he can get himself through on those times. We've also got Reese Linton and Dylan Warren also out on circuit, and Andre completely misses the apex, goes wide, and that will be his lap time done. He's lost probably about 3 or 4 tenths of a second in that section of circuit, and I just want to see what tyres the other ones come out on. So they both came out on intermediate tyres, well, the top 3, and they've also got Shanaka Clay as well out on track on intermediate. So either the drivers feel they can improve, which I don't think is that likely, or maybe they just want to do a bit of testing just in case the race delivers a bit of rain.
I'm not too sure what's going to happen at this point. We still have 7 minutes left in this session, and people are going to want to do laps, so why not use a set of the intermediates and try push, maybe to just find a footing in the wet conditions if that does occur during the race. Of course, we in the commentary box don't have any knowledge of any of the rain, you know, the weather conditions and what is actually coming for these drivers that they get when they're in the MFD, you know, in the garage and stuff. We don't actually get to see anything that they do. As now Andre Tarabukin comes through a final corner. His time is completely shot at the minute. It's going to be a 1 minute 45, 44.8. So yeah, that valid would have been a second slower than 14th position. It's just not looking likely that we're going to see any improvements in this session, especially for the guys at the top of the order. But if there is rain in Q3, it's a good idea to possibly use a set of the intermediates here just to practice in these conditions, because typically drivers, when they're practicing for a race weekend, they actually don't do as much wet practice as they do in the dry. I think it's just because it's so much nicer to drive in the slick conditions, and it's less likely that you get a wet race. So yeah, these guys, critical laps have been missed of wet practice. We'll see how they do as Alvaro Carreton now comes through the final corner to begin his first intermediate lap in these conditions, to come across the line, see what he can do here.
Yeah, just heading up in towards turn one. Obviously, no DRS being given to him down towards this first corner, obviously with it being wet conditions, so he's have to rely on all the power on that setup of the Williams. Just throws the car in towards that first corner, get back on the power nice and early. Be careful on the exit as well, because obviously a very low grip in these conditions. Just heading through the right-hander at turn two. Want to use as much circuit as you can, try and drift the car out so you can carry a bit more speed through in towards these corners. It's critical in the wet conditions. He goes back round to the right, then Matt's left at turns 7. And then he'll go back to the right at turn 8, then flick it to the left at turn 9. This is a part of the track where we see many invalidations and also many people spinning as you come through. And you can see they're a little bit wide, but luckily not invalidating the car for Alvaro Carreton. Down towards turn 11 at the a bit of a semi-hairpin, you could call it, at the braking zone. Throw the car in, get back on the power nice only. Normally you get some DRS down towards the turn 12 complex, but obviously here in these wet conditions there is no DRS aid at all, so it's all reliant, like you did at turn 1, on that pure power and setup in the car. Just heading down towards this next braking zone, normally around that 100 metre, but brake a little bit early sometimes in these wet conditions. Throw the car in, a bit of a lock-up, but that's normal in these wet conditions. Get back on the power on the exit. You come through now towards turns 14 through to 16. You can go late on the apex through this complex corner just to try and get the best you can in terms of carrying speed through and towards the apexes at turn 15. Get back on the power. He's probably down on his hole. Didn't see how much he was down by on his lap time. Andres Habukin did put himself into that top 11, I think it's just about 4 tenths off at the time of Reese Linton. So I don't think he'll be able to get himself through to Q3, but he was a little bit closer now. He's, I think 11th is a lot better than 15th for sure, isn't it, Dan? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, starting a good few places higher than 15th would be for him, but it does show that these guys can find improvements. So Shanaka Clay, it's not all lost for him at the minute with 4 minutes left to go. He is out on circuit, and typically a few laps done on the intermediates is actually better for the tyres. He will come into the pit lane. Very unlikely that we will see him in the session, but his teammate is out on circuit, as is Philip Presnader. Both of these drivers are in the top 10 at the minute. Daniel Shelson, of course, a really impressive driver in the wet conditions. I remember back to that season 13 race where he was in fact in Q3 and fighting for that pole position. So Daniel Shelson, definitely maybe a bit of a dark horse to look out for in this Grand Prix. He's heading on his outlap at the minute. Andre Tarabukin, I've just tabbed out of the game ever so just for a second there, but we are back as Andre Tarabukin not pushing on this lap. I suspect that's his qualifying done and dusted. I don't believe, Nathan, we're going to see anyone cracking into the top 10, so I would say that Andre Tarabukin, Ben Chabaconyi, Fabrizio Donoso, Joseph Folk and Shanaka Clay are all eliminated, unfortunately, from this session with just 3 minutes left to go, but we still do have some running out on circuit, and we'll see how these guys can cope.
Yeah, and the good thing this poses for lots of Jarno Opmeer is that Joseph Folk, who's only 2 points ahead of him, is now going to be out in 14th. Jarno has a chance to try and take pole, so there is a chance there could be 14 or 13 positions between Jarno and Joseph going into Q3 and going into the race. So Jarno could try and take that second away, but also got lots of Dylan Warren, who's also in the top 10. He's only 6 points back from Joseph Folk on 13. Nicholas Longe as well, but obviously he's starting in the back. So it is an opportunity today for Dylan Warren and Jarno Opmeer to try and put themselves into that second slash third position ahead of Joseph Folk. But we know Joseph is always great in a race. He's always good with that time management and taking those tyres as long as he can. So we'll see if Joseph maybe could try and do a bit of an overcut strategy, try and make it work, or maybe go really early in the pits and then take all these medium slash hards or softs all the way to the end. So yeah, I think strategy-wise, it needs to be key for Joseph Folk. He needs to get it right if he wants to try and defend that second and third away from Jarno Opmeer and Dylan Warren.
Absolutely, as now Daniel Shelson gets his lap underway, heading up towards turn number 1. You can see how careful he's got to be through this sector of the circuit, especially into the S. He's really revving out the car, trying to just find all the grip along this very wet track. Of course, not many drivers have been doing laps already. Daniel Shelton has actually invalidated on that run, but not many drivers have actually done laps so far in this session, so there's not really a dry line at all on the track, as multiple drivers are retiring from this session. They know that they are safe in this qualifying, but it's interesting to see if anyone in that bottom 5 was actually able to jump potentially ahead of Reese Linton, because a 41.899 maybe isn't the safest time to be on. Andrei Tarabukin is only 4/10 off the back of him, and we've got now, Nathan, a lot more drivers on circuit. I wonder, is Andrei Tarabukin potentially going to get himself into Q3?
It could be possible. Maybe if you can get some more cars out on track, get that track evolution up, possibly. We could see more of a dry line form and Andrei get himself through, but I think it's going to be... I don't think it's going to be too likely. It's possible, but I don't think very likely at all. So we'll just see what Andrei can produce on that final lap. And we know as well, in the conditions, the wet conditions, when you've got this pressure on you, you are more likely to have a bit of a mistake or fail the lap. So I think that's also something that Andrei will have counted, factored in, that he could possibly make a bit too much of a mistake due to him having to be on so much pressure and just trying to push the car that little bit too much as well. We know these are temperamental conditions. You don't know when the track's going to change. You don't know when it's going to get better. You don't know when it's going to get worse. The track will be different in every corner. So sometimes it's a bit unpredictable going into the corner, thinking, what's the car going to do? Can I take this more speed? Have to take less speed? All of that comes into factor. So I think it'll be difficult, but we never know. We'll see what he can do. We've got a few people on laps as well. No one really improving us all. They're all 2-3 seconds down on their time. But maybe Andrei's got something in the bag that everyone else hasn't got. He's just heading down towards turn 1 to finish what will be his final lap here in the Q2 session. We've got about 10 seconds left till the session will finish. So then you obviously can't set any more laps. Lots of Danny Burridge now, I think, will just to make it on time. Yes, he will. But obviously lots of Duncan Hoffland and Ben Shabakonyei cannot set another lap. And you can see there, obviously, Bence is now officially out of the Q2 session along with Fabrizio Donoso. So it's down to Andrei, Joseph and Shinaka to get out, but I just don't think anything's going to happen in this session now.
Yep, so 2 drivers confirmed to be eliminated from this session, but the other 3 still fighting to try and get themselves out of Q2. Reese Linton, currently the driver in danger. Andrei Tarabukin, if he's able to find 4/10 on this lap, then he will knock out the AlphaTauri driver. That'll be a bad day for them. Of course, it's Van Pookie already disqualifying himself from Q1, taking no further part in this session. We're watching Shinaka Clay head through the final sector. Now he's looking very confident on this set of the intermediate tyres, so we'll see what he can do. Of course, Shinaka's a driver we're very used to seeing in Q3, so it'd be a big loss to him, for him to be eliminated this early, but maybe we can see him climb up the order in the race. He comes to the line, he's able to get himself ahead of both Ben Shabakonyei and Fabrizio Donoso, but it's not enough, not even close to getting himself out of this session. He will be eliminated today. Unfortunately, Joseph Loke as well is invalidated on his lap, and Andrei Tarabukin is in the grass. So that is all 5 drivers actually confirmed to be eliminated from this session. We can see everyone else come through the final couple of corners now. Daniel Shelson is on a lap at the minute, heading now through turn number 20 and off the exit of the final corner. What is it going to be for the Norwegian driver? He finds a purple sector 3, but he is down by 3/10 on that lap. What about Danny Berejnay not pushing at the minute? So he is going to take to the flag, and this session will be over. Very unfortunate to lose the likes of Andrei Tarabukin, Shinaka Clay, Ben Shabakonyei, Fabrizio Donoso and Joseph Loke, because they are 5 drivers, Nathan, that I can envision getting themselves into that top 10 and fighting for pole position in the next session. So all 5 of them, big losses.
Yeah, definitely. However, I'm excited to see how this Q3 can go. And I've noticed as well that there was 9 teams in the top 10. Williams had both their drivers through. No other team have both drivers through. But you can see there from the Q2 session, Alvaro Carton was quickest with a 40.452 ahead of Duncan Hoffland, Danny Berejnay in 3rd, Ismail Fassi in 4th, and Jonas May at the top 5. We've got Philip Preschneider, Dylan Warren, Daniel Kjelsen, Dan Van Darken and Reese Linton reign at the top 10. Then unfortunately in that session we did lose Andrei Tarabukin, Shinaka Clay, Ben Shabakonyei, Fabrizio Donoso and Joseph Loke. So the top 10's interesting. I'm excited to see how Q3 can go, and we'll see what the conditions are like. It could be wet, it could be dry. It could go from wet to dry, or dry to wet. We don't know. So I'm very excited to see how this next part of qualifying goes. I'm more interested in maybe a bit of a wet to dry, so we could see, kind of like the last person to take pole. It could be anyone out the top 10. What I'm kind of hoping for, but we'll see what the Q3 brings us. It's been a bit dull in the first parts of qualifying, unfortunately, at the start, but Q3, I'm sure, it's always an interesting session. You can always see something great come out of a Q3, and it actually looks like it's started to dry up. There's no rain. It's still a little bit damp on track, still very overcast, so now I think we should see the drivers back out onto a set of softs, and, well, the track will just keep getting drier and drier, so the lap times will fly down unless it starts to rain again miraculously, which I don't think it will. But yeah, I think we got a very exciting Q3 coming up. And Dan, you always ask me the question first. I'll ask you the question first this time. Who do you think will take pole?
I don't even know who's in this session. Truth be told, I'll go with Championship leader Ismail Fassi to take pole position in this one. Of course, his teammate Alvaro Caraton led Q2, and I think it's going to go the other way in the Williams camp. But both of them a very strong driver lineup. Ismail Fassi, of course, leading the championship on 60 points. I'll bring up the standings on your screen now to remind you of how they're looking. Of course, Ismail leading the way at the minute ahead of Joseph Loke, who was eliminated in Q2. A bad race from him today could potentially mean the likes of Jan Ortmir, Dylan Moore, and Nicholas Longe, if he's able to get himself through the field. Maybe those guys can challenge him. So Joseph Loke has to be on his A game this evening. But yeah, we will bring you over to the game scene now, and it's very quiet out on circuit. It does look like, though, there is no rain. The driver's just waiting for the track to dry up, so we could have a very dull beginning to this session. So there's no better time than now to have a quick word from our sponsors at GridFinder. Welcome back, everyone. Still very quiet here in Texas, but we have just had word from Race Control. DRS has been enabled, so this is a dry session, and already there was an AlphaTauri out on circuit. The lone Reese Linton on circuit, but just riding on board with the driver and having this off-car view. You can see the track is still very wet here, and of course drivers have not really had a chance to use the softs in this qualifying session. There was only those initial laps in Q2, so they've got plenty of sets spare, but to use them this early when the track is this wet feels very bold here.
Yeah, you can see, there's still a bit of spray coming off the back of those tyres. So, yeah, the drivers are still going to struggle at this first part of qualifying, but I think also part of it is a little bit like real life. Not as similar, obviously not as realistic here in the game. It's just a bit more drivers on track. Getting those, getting those lap times in will make a bit of a dry line. It will drive the track up quicker, get some heat on the surface. So we'll see, obviously, how long it takes for the track to dry up. You can see there's lots of wet patches still. The soft's still probably nowhere near their optimal conditions at all. But I think they are probably at this point a little bit quicker than the intermediates. We'll see if anyone else came out on Twitters and other than everyone out on track is on a set of softs, because they know that the track will dry up. With the way this game works, Reese could start his lap in wet conditions like they are now. By the time the person who's coming out to track now, which I think is over a Caraton, starts, or Ishmael Fassi, one of the Williams, it'll probably be dry for them on track. That's how F1 23 likes to work. It just switches instantly. I was watching a race the other night. I was commentating a race the other night at Silverstone, and it was a wet circuit, and there was a driver who took softs to try and see if he could make them work. In Sector 1, it was dry, it was fine, the DRS was enabled. By the time we got to Sector 3, the track was sodden wet.
Yeah, of course, conditions change very rapidly here on the F1 23 game. It definitely creates a bit of uncertainty, which I think we do like to see in league racing sometimes. 8 minutes left to go in this session before Reese Linton gets his lap underway. We're nearing 1,000 viewers in the live chat at the minute, and I want to play my favourite game now because someone has reminded me, saying love from South Africa. Of course, we are World Online Racing, which means we span all across the globe. Let me know where you are watching from in the live chat, and of course we will read out some of your countries. It's great to see every single week how many people from all over the world tune in to WOR. Normally it's actually quite a lot of people from America, which is very fitting that we are here at the Circuit of Americas here this evening. We were at Las Vegas last week as well. We've got someone watching from Malaysia, of course, South Africa, Italy, Papua New Guinea, Northern Germany, Thailand, all over the world, Zimbabwe, Egypt, but from Canada, Germany, the TARDIS, we got Doctor Who in the live chat. Germany, Portugal, Kuwait, Poland, all over the world. Incredible to see here this evening. Both me and Nathan, of course, hailing from the United Kingdom, as is Reese Linton, who is on his lap. And Nathan, already you have said that the track dries up very quick. It is looking almost bone dry out on circuit. There's near enough no standing water anymore along that racing line as well. So Reese Linton could be on for a decent lap here.
Yeah, but I expect the grip will still be a little bit of an issue for many drivers. So I think Reese's time probably won't be the fastest at all out of all the trials on track. I think he might end up dropping down to like 8th or 9th because the track will still be getting better and better as the session goes. On a 105.465 is the split first and second set to for Reese Linton, but these drivers haven't really done much running at all. On the dry tyres, they've done more running in the wet than having the dry, so this could still be a bit temperamental for some drivers. Get used to being more on the grippier conditions, getting used to being able to put the foot down a little bit quicker and being able to brake a little bit later in some of those braking zones. But Reese now just heading through in towards the penultimate corner at turn 19, or popping that curve a little bit too aggressively, then in towards the final corner. We'll see what the first lap time will be here in the qualifying 3 session up to line for Reese Linton. What will it be? 1 minute 37.417, a decent lap time, or a decent banker indeed, but I think the lap times will come down. We've got Philip Preshader coming through in towards that final set. He was also, I think, 2 tenths up in that middle and first combined than Reese Linton. He goes to line and will go quickest by 2 tenths with a 1 minute 37.234. I think we've also got Alvaro Carson and Ismail Fassi coming through. Ismail Fassi, our championship leader, first to come through. Now in towards turn 19 of the Williams, then he'll go in towards turn 20, losing a lot of time in that penultimate corner. Had to lift off heavily into that after carrying a little bit too much speed. He'll come slow. What will it be for Ismail Fassi? A 1:36.3. Brilliant lap time.
The laps are going to tumble down. These are not representative at all. We're going to see low 30s, I believe, by the end of this session or something like that. That's what I think we're used to, unless I'm just stupid. But yeah, a lot of guys, 30s. Yeah, low 30s. Dylan Warren on pole position at the minute at 36.0. It could be a case when it comes down to the final runs. Alvaro Carton besting Warren by 300ths of a second there. It could come down to the final laps. Just whoever starts it last is going to have the best track conditions. Jan Ottmer to the line 3 tenths quicker than Alvaro Carton. I'd imagine that Danny Berejnay is going to have the best conditions out of anyone in this session. Now with 5 minutes left to go, everyone is going to have time to come back into the pit lane and fit on another set of the soft tyres. The track should hopefully, fingers crossed, have dried up completely by then. Here comes Berejnay to the line, 5 tenths clear of Jan Ottmer, and is your provisional pole sitter. And I think with these heavy braking zones in towards turn number 1 and turn number 12, Danny Berejnay is going to be the one to benefit the most. Because Nathan, if you remember that video of him slamming on his brakes and then it exploding or something, it was just the funniest thing of him. We know that Danny Berejnay really does like to abuse his pedals, and he is incredibly late on the brakes, and I think he is going to have a good race today. And so far in Q3, it's looking like it.
Yeah, it'd been nice for him to have a good race on his debut. It's a driver as well I haven't really contacted over much, so it would be nice to see Danny get himself into that top 3, maybe even fight for a victory. We know he's been quick around here, as I said earlier on. He has claimed 3rd here before in this championship here at Texas, so I believe he's a driver who is very used to this track. He knows how the track works, so I'm sure he'll do a decent job. And as we expected, Reese Linton, who was on provisional pole about 2 minutes ago, is now in provisional 10th. On a 37.4, 2 seconds-ish off the back of Danny Berejnay, who's just heading down in towards turn 12 as he concludes his in-lap. And I think first on the circuit is one of the Aston Martins, possibly, unless they're entering back into the pits. I don't know. No, they're entering back in. So we'll see who goes out first onto track. But I think the people who could be in an advantage here normally isn't an advantage. In fact, those who are a little bit further down the pits, they can get out first and they can jump a couple of the other drivers. So maybe they'll get a bit of an advantage going into towards the final laps of qualifying. Because I think even though the grip's getting better, it probably will come down to the last driver to cross the line and takes pole. There's only 3 minutes left. The track doesn't have that much time to dry up.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we're not going to see sort of the normal times that we are used to, as now Danny Berejnay heads back into the pit lane. Very dirty set of the soft compound tyres fitted onto his McLaren now. Most drivers, well actually all of them, into the pit lane, and now it's just a game of chicken. Who is going to be the first one to come out on circuit? Because they're all going to want to be last, and I'm wondering if we're going to see some Monza 2019 sort of shenanigans in qualifying, where everyone is backing each other up, trying to be the last one across the line, then only like 1 or 2 drivers actually get across to begin their laps. I can see that an Alpine is coming out on circuit. That is the lone Alpine of Philip Preshader, the first one out on circuit, followed by Reese Linton and Duncan Hoffland. All of these guys coming out early, playing playing it safe to try and get their laps on the board. The track evolution for 30 seconds is going to be worth a few tenths, so really you want to leave it as late as possible. Already yellow flags in that first sector. These guys backing off as early as they can to go as slow as possible, but they also need to be concerned about warming up those tyres. If they're not to temperature, they're not going to generate enough heat, and so there's not going to be enough grip for the tyres to actually stick to the surface and really perform at their best. So it's a balancing act, I think, at this point.
It is, and I'm surprised to see lots of Philip to go out quite early compared to the others. You would have thought he would have tried to be a little bit further back in the grid, because if you're going to be going out first on track, I don't think you have much chance at all of taking pole position, because the track is just getting better and better by the second. So the likes of Danny Berger, who's right to the back of the field, he has the best chance to take pole. But the only issue he's got is all those ahead will be trying to go as slow as they can to try and wait for the track to roll out. But eventually, they're going to all have to go. Otherwise, they're going to have people that are not going to cross the line, like we saw in Monza in 2019. And we can see the poll in the chat saying, who do you think will get pole position? Danny Berger, Jon Uppbeat, Alvaro Carreton, or other? So comment below. And I know, Dan, you said, was it Ishmael Fassi?
I said Ishmael, yeah.
Well, I'll go with the other one. I'll go with the Captain Pot Williams. I'll go with Alvaro Carreton. We'll see if he can try and take a pole. He's a little bit further back in the train, so maybe he's got a chance of doing so. But I've just looked at one of the Williamses. You can see them all grouping up down towards turn 12. They make 6 of them all together.
Will they make it? Danny Berger is going through on everyone. I don't know if they're all going to make it to the line at this point. They've got a minute to go, heading into the final sector. I mean, this really is 2019 Monza-esque here. We've not actually seen any grid penalties either. But yeah, let us know, everyone, in the live chat who you are going for pole position, and maybe we'll read out some of your responses if we have the time. Philip Presneder way ahead of everyone out on circuit. This is when they come to a crawl to slow down as much as possible. They can't do laps whilst they're this close, so someone's not making it. At the moment, Dylan Warren is at the back of the train. Then it's Ishmael Fassi, Alvaro Carreton as well. Oh my god, they're 3 wide. Dylan Warren is off the circuit. They can't do laps like this. Philip Presneder has started his run, heading up towards turn number 1. Reese Linton is going to have clear circuit. I think they might be all okay to start their laps, but someone's going to get impeded. Someone's going to make a mistake. Look at this. They're all piling into the final corner, just waiting to come across the line and begin their laps. We're watching Alvaro Carreton, who's near enough towards the back. 7 seconds to go. As who's going to make it to the line? 3 seconds to go. Ishmael Fassi, is he going to make it? He's not made it. Has he made it? I think he might have just, but he's invalidated. Ishmael Fassi invalidating on his lap. He'll start at best in P8. Let's have a look then at Philip Presneder, already 1.2 seconds up on his previous best lap, heading now down onto this back straight, where we're going to see some of the closest racing into that braking zone in Q1, where it began to in Q2, where it began to get wet. We saw 319.20 kilometers per hour. It's much the same story heading down into the braking zone for Philip Presneder. See what we'll do though, as he's up by 3.5 seconds. Track evolution is paramount at the moment. He's looking at a 1 minute 34 for the time being, but is that going to be enough for pole position for the Philip Presneder here this evening? Now in towards the triple right-hander of turn 16, 17 and 18. Some of the most spectacular corners along this circuit. Very easy to get caught out by this exit here. Be careful not to invalidate. As Philip Presneder now through the final corner. What is it going to be on the board for him this evening? The Slovak comes to the line. It's going to be a 1 minute 31.492. A great time on the board from him. Let's watch Danny Berger, though, now heading through the final couple of corners. He was on provisional pole before Philip Presneder's time. Now Reese Linton jumps ahead of the Alpine. Duncan Hoffman gets himself into provisional pole position. Xander Van Dyken, the best he can do is P2. Jon Uppbeat is third. Danny Berger to the line with a 1 minute 30.953. A great lap on the door from him. Alvaro Carreton is the last one to come across the line, and it was a great effort. Managed to get himself into P4, but no one is able to contest the Hungarian. Danny Berger comes to the line with a 1 minute 30, the only 1 minute 30 that we have seen in this session, beating out Duncan Hoffman by over a tenth of a second. A fantastic effort from him there. Great to see Dylan Warren as well on the second row of the grid ahead of Alvaro Carreton. Xander Van Dyken as well, beating out his fellow countryman of Jon Uppbeat for 5th on the grid. Reese Linton starts in 7th, 8th for Daniel Shelson, and Philip Presneder going out early was just not the motor for him. He comes across the line with a 1 minute 31.472, only good enough for P9 because Ishmael Fassi was invalid on his run and didn't get a lap on the board. I'm interested to see though what Ishmael's time was. I'm going to have a look in there. It was a 31.002 for him. That had been good enough for second.
Yeah, but the one driver I want to speak about is Duncan Hoffland. He was, I think, fifth in that train, but come home with the second quickest lap time. He beat the likes of Jon Uppmeer over a Carroton, Dylan Warren, who all set laps after him. So it was a brilliant lap there from Duncan Hoffland to put himself onto the front row. Obviously, we do have that restart for the Grand Prix. Obviously, 50% race as usual. But yeah, we've got Danny Brejne on his debut race here on pole ahead of Duncan Hoffland. I think we've got a really exciting race coming up, and I can't wait. Jan Uppmeer as well, unfortunate in the top six, considering he's, regarded as one of the best drivers in the world. For him to be in sixth, he's quite disappointed. I expect to see him a little bit higher going in towards the race, so we'll see what he can do. Obviously, we know Jan loves an overcut. We know he likes to go a little bit longer on his tyres, so we'll see if that is his plan tonight. But I think strategy-wise, yet again, we've got drivers all over the grid. We've got the Ferraris right at the back along with Otis Slonson. We've got some drivers like Shinaka Clay, Josie Float, Fabrizio Donoso, who are racing Q2, we expect to see normally in the top 10. Then we've got some drivers at the top who we don't normally see at the top. So the grid is complete. It's like it's been thrown into a hat and mixed up because we've got drivers all over the grid. So I think this race is going to be very exciting, along with the fact we've got the different strategies. We've got teams who are going to be a bit close together, teams a little bit apart that can all work together. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how this race can go. And I think we've probably got possibilities of this being the best race we've had so far.
I mean, Las Vegas is definitely going to give, it's going to take some beating. I mean, that was a fantastic race, but the American counterpart of Circuit of the Americas historically produces some fantastic Grand Prix. It was Lucas Blakely taking the win last time out in season 15. Jan Uppmeer ended up finishing in second, so we'll have to wait and see if Jarno is able to live up to that once again heading into this race. But so far, it's been a tough season for the Flying Dutchman, sitting in third in the championship. It's not great by his standards. I think he wants to be leading here, and Ismail Fassi clear by over 30 points. Not over 30 points. I think he's 26 points ahead of Jan Uppmeer, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, Ismail Fassi, I mean, he's in a league of his own. Jan Uppmeer is not going to be happy about it. Maybe this could be the race of change, though. Ismail Fassi, Nathan, got to talk about him. Disqualified?
Yeah.
He invalidated on his lap when his time would have been good enough for P2. That is really going to hurt his chances here.
I don't know what happened. Did he invalidate Quinn at the final corner? Because he crossed the line with time, and he wasn't invalidated before the line. So did he invalidate as he crossed the line? So did he accidentally go a little bit too wide out at the final corner? Either that, or there might have been a glitch. I don't know, because he did cross the line with, I think it was like 1 second to go. It was very close, and I thought at 1 second it wasn't going to make it through, because he slowed down. I'm like, Ismail, there's 7 seconds to go. You need to hurry up, otherwise you're going to not make it through. But, well, he didn't manage to make it through anyway, because unfortunately he ends up starting, I think it's in 10th position because of that invalidation. So he's got a lot of work to do. But remember, Bahrain, 15th to 1st. If he can do 15th to 1st around Bahrain, I'm sure he can try and go for a 10th to 1st here around Texas, which can then open it up to maybe that bit of a longer strategy, going that bit more of an overcut, start on those harder tyres and go a little bit longer, then stop onto a medium or a soft at the end and just try and push. I know that with the silhouettes of York-Mir, Dylan Warren try and do the same thing. But yeah, I think going into the race, we got, as I said before, very interesting mixed up grid. I forgot to mention as well, Jake Benham, he's going to be joining in the race. I believe he will be starting last as well. So I'll be keen to see how Jake Benham can do going in towards this one. But yeah, I think we've got a very exciting race coming up. Hopefully we can get started shortly. I need to get myself into the lobby. That will probably be a very good idea before we can start. And hopefully we can go quickly. I hope I'm not the reason everyone's been held up. I've been waffling on and forgot to join the session.
You're all good. We're still waiting for everyone to get in the lobby. I had time to reset Steam and of course get everyone's names updated, at least for Fabi. It's showing up as just Donoso, so it's not Fabrizio Donoso, which is a little bit annoying, but it should be
okay.
We got
Carlos?
well, he's not in the lobby yet. Carlos Sainz hasn't joined yet, so we'll see if Barry has got his name sorted. But yeah, he's not in the lobby for the time being. Fingers crossed, though, that it is indeed Barry Burman. And of course, starting from the back of the grid, it happened last week for both Ferrari drivers. They ended up with a double podium finish in Las Vegas. Let's have a look at the results from last week. Of course, Ismail Fassi taking victory after all the chaos on the final lap. Then a double Ferrari podium due to Barry Burman's penalty getting removed, promoting him up into P3. Then Duncan Hoffland in P4, 5th for Tamas Gal, 6th for Daniel Shelson, Dylan Warren 7th, 8th was Jan Uppmeer, Shimon Lekonski 9th, and Rishan Jacobs in 10th. So we'll have to wait and see if those Ferraris are going to be able to repeat what they did in Las Vegas with their fantastic strategy, going on the softs, I believe it was, early on in the race, then using them to their advantage, pitting around the same time as the medium runners, and completely taking control of the race. It was a fantastic showing from them that evening, and I wonder if we're going to see the same today.
We could do. The confirmed order for 16th to 20th, so it'll be Otis Lawrence starting 16th, Isvan Pookie 17th, Nico Ongain 18th, Barry Burman did 19th, and then Jake Benham will start last in this race. So the Friars will be together in their little group 17th, 18th, and 19th. Obviously, Isvan Pookie will be in a Alpha Tauri, and then obviously Otis in the McLaren, and Jed Burnham in the Mercedes. So yes, we've got one Mercedes near the front, one Mercedes near the back. We've got one of the McLarens right at the front, one of the McLarens right near the back, and then obviously one of the Alpha Tauris near the front, and one of the Alpha Tauris near the back. So yes, three of the teams are definitely far apart going into this race. We've got 20 drivers in, so we've got everyone in at least, and we can get the grid sorted out by Mr. Dylan Warren, as usual. Very thanks to him for setting up the lobby pretty much every single week, because it does take a lot of responsibility and a lot of time and effort, which I would definitely not want to put in myself. So yes, hopefully we can get underway very shortly for what should be an exciting 28 laps of racing. And I think with the way this race is going to go and where everyone else is on the grid, I think it's quite hard to kind of have a bit of an idea on who could win, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, actually, I think that was a good time to interact with some of the viewers in the live chat. We've got almost 1,200 people watching at the minute, and I want to hear from you. Who do you think is taking the win in this Grand Prix? Danny Berejny is starting on pole position, but typically the driver that takes pole is not your race winner, of course. Last time out, Tamas Gal started on pole position after dominating qualifying, ended up only in P5, of course. Got into a few squabbles as well with Shanaka Clay. Shanaka had an incident in that final. I don't actually remember what happened. I mean, it feels like it was ages ago. But yeah, do let us know who you think is going to be taking victory this evening. I could see Godfrey Adam is saying Berejny for the win. Milan Gritter says the Goatmere. That is, of course, Jarno Opmeer, the most popular driver, I think, by some margin on this grid this evening. Who else? We've got Goathar for president. Thomas Ronhar's not racing here this evening, but I would vote for him. We've got Diane Cord saying Danny for the win. We've got Kyle May saying Daniel. I think that means me to take the win. I'm not too sure that's going to happen there, but thank you very much. Who else? Who else is going to win in this one? Please do, everyone. Let us know in the live chat. I've got another prediction to take the victory here.
Yeah, well, it's a shame I don't get a prediction. It's very nice you all in the chat. Give Dan the prediction, but not me.
There
we are.
There you
Perfect timing. Ricardo, love you. The fun Dutchmen. Oh, so we're predicting what? Multiple drivers to win the race. Oh, okay.
We're gonna have a car scenario, I think, where it's a three-way tie. Between Jarno Opmeer, Xander Van Dyken, and Duncan Hofland at the line. All three and the colours actually kind of match if you think about it. Jarno's got the blue, Mercedes isn't blue, that silver bluish color anymore, but you've got Duncan Hofland in the pink. There's a bit of red on the Haas. Maybe we could spin that narrative that Xander is Lightning McQueen. Don't know, but yeah, we could maybe see that. As let's read out some more predictions. I've seen a prediction from Bertie Ryland saying Otis Lawrence to take victory. That'd be a very interesting one. Starting from, I believe, last on this grid, will definitely be an interesting shout to take victory. Joseph is saying Luke Humperdinck to take the win. Maybe back in his day when he was peaking in AOR, all the way back on Xbox, he won that, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I think Humperdinck's a great prediction. But Nathan, we've waffled along long enough here. The race is starting with 15 seconds until we get into this lobby. I'm very excited for this one.
I am, yes. I think we've got a great race on our hands. We've got 5 seconds till we get in, and then down the usual long waffling session while we wait for the lobby to start. And as if we say every single time, even though we know the race is coming, we always get caught off guard. I think every commentator on this game can say the exact same. You know it's here, but every time you're like, oh, it's starting. Even though, for the past 20 or 30 seconds it will begin. But yes, I think turn 1 could be quite hectic depending on what tyres people use. And obviously some of the faster drivers being near the back, they're going to be trying to have a bit more of a lunge at the start. So yes, everyone, prepare for some chaos at the start of this race. So I think there definitely will be a lot of it.
Well, I think now is a better time than ever to have a quick word from our sponsors at Next Level Racing. Welcome back, trackside here in sunny Austin, Texas, getting ready for the start of this race. Nice, clear blue skies, very minimal cloud coverage here around this beautiful circuit of the Americas. We're waiting for everyone to get their strategies locked in, and then we can get this race underway. Of course, 28 laps around this circuit with plenty of overtaking opportunities. Of course, Herman Tilke, the architect of this circuit, he's come under some flack for designing some pretty terrible circuits, but I think USA, this is one of his gems, one of his favorite tracks, and I think a lot of drivers really do love to come around here, but definitely got to watch out for a lot of penalties, especially in that first sector. Very unpredictable here this evening, and we want to hear from you. Before we head into this one, please make sure you have subscribed to the WOR YouTube channel, and of course like the stream as well. We've got 1,200 people watching at the minute. I want to see you lighting up the live chat with your favorite driver here this evening, who you're rooting for to take the win. Let's see, as we're just waiting now for the light to come on. Danny Berejnay on pole position, starting ahead of Duncan Hoffland. Here we go, heading in towards turn number 1. It looks to be a good getaway for Dylan Warren in behind, but Danny Berejnay is going to be able to clear Duncan Hoffland into that first corner. Dylan Warren all the way around the outside on his set. The soft compound tyres in that Alfa Romeo have the inside line now for the next right-hander, and gets himself through on his former PlayStation adversary, but it is Danny Berejnay leading the way at the start ahead of Dylan Warren as they head into the twisties. There's a Red Bull off, both of them off the circuit. Shanaka Clay with a monstrous start there has now gone off the circuit, I believe that was. Daniel Shelson also sinking down the order. Ishmael Fassi is through on him there, but it has been a very hectic, very chaotic start to this Grand Prix.
It has a pressure header also dropped down to P15 under pressure from Isfan Pukianda and Brad Tarabukin in towards Tulum. We've got cars going 2-3 wide in towards the hairpin, but a contact by the back near the field. We've got one of the Alpines going to the back of the AlphaTauris as they all file down towards turn 12 at the front. We've got Dylan Warren looking to take lead away from Danny Berejnay to the inside line. Dylan Warren on those soft tyres. Can he take the lead away from Danny? I think he will into the brake zone. Yes, he will. Dylan Warren takes the lead of the race here on lap 1 of 28 on those softer comparative tyres. Further back, we can see Ben Shabakonyi now in the top 9. We got Fabrizio Donoso around the outside. Daniel Kjellson down at turn number 14 gets himself into that top 10 ahead of the driver on the hard tyres. He'll be swallowed up by the likes of Otis Lawrence and Nicholas Longay as well. Otis 16th now into 11th place. Further back, Nicholas Longay looking for a move on the back of Yeltsin. Got to go around the outside at turn 18. Have the inside at turn 19. Great move there from the Ferraris. They head through to begin lap 2 of 28, and a good start from those on the soft tyres, but a very poor start for some of those at the back. Unfortunately, Barry Burman not really getting much of a getaway at all on those hards. I think we've had, yes, Reece Linton into the pit, starting the top 10 now, into the pit lane. Further up we can see Duncan Hoffland also getting in on Danny Berejnay.
Monstrous start for Shanaka Clay, starting in 12th, now up to P5 in this Grand Prix. He's just got himself through on Jarno Otmir. Ishmael Fassi in behind is having to do some, he's having to do God's work defending from 4 soft runners. He's unfortunately lost the position to Ben Shabakonyi. Still got Donoso, Lawrence and Longay in behind him there, so he's really just holding these guys up on his set of the hard compound tyres. No mediums on circuit, interestingly enough, so everyone has chose to start on either the softs or the hards. So everyone's intention very clear in this race is now Fabrizio Donoso looks to the inside at turn number 11 of Ishmael Fassi as an easy move with only 1 lap old soft tyres. They can have all the life in the world. Otis Lawrence looking to follow the Aston Martin through, and is going to get himself up the inside of the championship leader, who's now sunk outside of the top 10. Shanaka Clay meanwhile going past his former Williams teammate Alvaro Carreton, dropping down into P5. Donoso and Lawrence having a little scrap down for P10 and P9 at the minute in the second, now third sector. Otis Lawrence going to have the inside for the next left-hander at turn number 15, and will be able to clear Fabi, get himself up into 9th after starting 16th in this Grand Prix. Otis Lawrence really coming back to WOR with a bang.
Definitely, and also Ishmael Fassi still defending off the back of Nicholas Longay in towards turn 19. Great defence from Ishmael so far, but I don't think he can defend for too long on these hard compound tyres. Dylan Warren takes the fastest lap. He's got a 1.6 second lead too. Danny Berejnay in this race. We can see Shanaka Clay also getting in on the back of Duncan Hoffland. Can he make a move for third? To the inside line he goes, and he started where? 14th. He's now in the top 3. Brilliant start to this race from Shanaka Clay so far. It's a shame to see that he's not in the esports season this year. We can see Duncan Hoffland trying to follow him through, but we'll never really try and make the position back as his hard tyres will be a lot slower coming in towards these next few corners. Further back we can see Ben Shabakonyi trying to hunt down Jarno Otmir through in towards this next section of the circuit down at turns 8, 9 and 10. Otis Lawrence also on the back of the second Haas in the train being Xander Van Dijken. He'll go to the inside if he can get it in towards turn 11. He's a little bit too far back for now, so I think his main thing will be to get him down in towards turn 12. No, he's not. He's going to send a move in towards turn 11. Goes Otis Lawrence. Brilliant move on the RHG. Hash driver down towards turn 12. They go. Now Fabrizio Donoso in prime time to try and get a move ahead of Xander Van Noga to pop himself into that top 9. Can he do so? Yes, he can. But Xander will have to try and defend it. As we can see further ahead, Shanaka Clay takes second from Danny Barrett. So second place for Shanaka Clay. What a start that has been from him, Dan.
Xander Van Dyken fighting it out with Fabrizio Donoso. I had an audible gasp at the Red Bull driver of Daniel Shelson going up the inside of Ismail Fassi down in towards turn number 11. Both of them almost into that inside wall there, but luckily they came out with no scrape whatsoever. Daniel Shelson, though, making up that position on Ismail Fassi, who's done nothing but go backwards so far in this Grand Prix. It's been a tough start to him, but however, he is on that set of the hard compound of tyres, and so we should see him climb up the order as this race progresses. Ben Shabakoni on the back of Jarno Ottmar at the minute, but we are in the famous DRS train, so it can be very difficult for Bench to go for this move, but he's pulling to the inside line just to get out of the dirty air of the Flying Dutchman. Not going to go up the inside this time by, but he was using some of his battery there. Nicolas Longe is through on Xander Van Dyken, so all of the soft runners making up immense amount of ground in this race. Jake Benham and Barry Burman, very uncharacteristic to see these guys way down the order in 18th and 19th, but on the hards they should be able to use the quicker tyres later on in this Grand Prix. Only lap number 4, Nathan, of 28, but already we have seen some immense battling, and I don't think it's over yet because Ben Shabakoni is on the back of the Dutchman and in towards turn number 11. Had a half think about going for the move. We'll see in towards turn number 12 if he sends up that dive bomb.
Yeah, you can see a lot more grip on the back of those, on the back of that Haas, obviously with those soft cone paint as well, but down the straight, no advantage at all to be used from Ben Shabakoni. He's not really using too much battery. He's got about half the tank as he heads down towards the braking zone, but yeah, he's not bothered about using too much battery. I don't think he's too bothered just yet about making the move down that back straight. He'd rather make it in the corners where he can lose the most time as Joseph Flood makes the move. This is down for 14th, 15th and 16th. They go nearly 3-1 in towards turn 14. It's going to be a bit deep there from Pookie. Knocks Joseph Flood off the track. Joseph won't be happy with that one too, which he will try and send a move. No, he can't send a move back up the inside, so it's going to be Philip Pressured watching all this battling going on. It then brings Andre Tabukin, Jake Venom and Barry Borman right into this battle, pretty much all the way up to 14th position. But yeah, a bit scrappy between Istvan and Joseph on the opening laps of this Grand Prix. They head through in towards the final corner, and Joseph won't be happy with that. We know he's one driver that doesn't like those aggressive moves being made on him too often, so we'll see if he can try and fight back to the AlphaTauri as they head back down towards turn 1. No battery really going to be used by Joseph because he's only got 30%, so a lot of that being used at the start for the Alfa Romeo driver, who's, remember, he's still second in the standings, so he's got a lot of work to do from 15th on this grid. We've obviously got the likes of Ismail Fassi, who's leading the championship by about 30 points. He's in 13th, so at the moment no points scored for him, meaning Jarno Ottmar is in the best position in this championship so far to try and get himself a little bit closer to the likes of Joseph Floke and Ismail Fassi. But now Shanaka Clay is getting back into that 1 second gap of Dylan Warren, so that gap is coming down very quickly, and Shanaka Clay, what pace is he on? He's absolutely on fire.
Well, yeah, he's making up some great time on Dylan Warren at the minute. We'll see if he's able to utilise that DRS maybe next time by. Dylan Warren has had a very comfortable race thus far. Danny Bereshne, all of the hard runners in behind, couldn't keep up with the pace that he was on, as to be expected when it's the hards against the softs. Seems like everything is stagnated, though, ever so slightly in this race, and now the softs will begin to die off in the next few laps. Shanaka Clay not really dropping Danny Bereshne at all at the minute, and Danny is doing very well to keep within that DRS of Shanaka Clay, and certainly let him know that he's just watching in behind, and any slip up that the Red Bull driver may make in this Grand Prix, Danny Bereshne will be there to capitalise. Now Jake Benham and Andre Tarabukin scrapping it out for P17 in this Grand Prix. This is right at the back of the DRS train that has been formed throughout this grid. Andre still trying to fight that one up the inside in towards turn number 18, but Jake Benham will stay ahead in that train. So P17 for the season 11, the inaugural PC champion, and I wonder, is he going to be able to take the fight later on in this Grand Prix? Let's have a look at Fabrizio Donoso defending from Nicolas Longe. These two former teammates at Alpine now have gone their separate ways, and let's hope there's some good level of respect between these two. Fabi is able to defend from Nico this time by, but Nico is all over the rear of his former teammate.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably try and see him get through as soon as possible. Otis Lawrence is now starting to pull away from Fabrizio Donoso, who's currently in 9th position. And Nico, we know he's got a lot of pace. He's always one of the quickest drivers here in WOR. Obviously, we did start at the back of the grid, so we'll see him try and work his way up and probably get ahead of Fabrizio in the next couple of laps. But further up, we can see the likes of Baconia not really gaining on the back of you anymore. That gap's kind of starting to build up, and well, maybe the Sots had lost their competitive advantage. You can see Danny Bereshine now making a move up in towards turn 12, puts himself into P2 ahead of Shanaka Clay, who remember started down in 14th, now down into third position after getting second early on, and now Dylan Moore could be under a bit of pressure from these on hard lots of Duncan Hoffland, Alvaro Carrot and Jon Ortmeier all in position to try and take these positions ahead of the soft runners, obviously being Shanaka Clay and Dylan Warren. Further back we can see now lots of Otis Lawrence on to try and gain in on the back of Bench Baconia, but with the train like this, Dan, there's just no moves can be made. You struggle a lot, don't you, down towards turn 12 to make a move, so it's all down to mainly the tyre advantage, isn't it? So those in the group of hards and those in the group of softs can't really make much work.
It seems like the softs really are beginning to fall off at this point, because Duncan Hoffland is all over the rear of Shanaka Clay off the exit of turn number 20. Duncan Hoffland is going to go for the move up the inside into the braking zone. They go. The Aston Martin driver is going to get through on Shanaka Clay. So in the space of just one lap, he's lost, well, half a lap actually. He's lost now 2 places to both Danny Bereshine and Duncan Hoffland. So they are as they were at the beginning of this race when Dylan Warren had that 1.6 second advantage. However, this time by Nathan, it is now only 0.3 of a second. So Dylan Warren, that gap has been eradicated after 7 laps, and he is going to struggle because when you're leading the race and not following anyone in behind, you're not going to be able to save the ERS effectively. Of course, you don't get to use the DRS, and your tyres do take a little bit more brunt. So Dylan Warren might be in a slightly worse position than Danny Bereshine, if they were on a level playing field. Of course, 6-lap-old softs are beginning to go off ever so slightly, and I think that these guys know it because Alvaro Carreton now all over the back of his former Williams teammate up the inside into the braking zone. Shanaka is beginning to sink like a stone in this race. The softs have lost all grip, it seems, at this point, and now Alvaro Carreton retakes that P4 position that he lost just 4 laps ago.
Yeah, and I think it's these tyres are starting to hit their kind of instant drop-off phase. We've seen this with all tyres on the game. They're all right, and then all of a sudden drop off, and you lose 2 or 3 tenths a lap. So this is, I think, what these softs are starting to go through at this point. Meaning you can see lots of Jon Ortmeier, Carreton trying to get themselves ahead of Shanaka Clay quite shortly. Xander Van Dyken as well. He's probably in a decent position soon as well to start to gain in on the likes of Nicholas Longe and Fabrizio Donoso, who currently running 9th and 10th. Well, that gap between Dylan Moore and Danny Bereshine coming out the final corner is just 0.4 of a second as they head down towards that first corner. So we'll see. Do we get an overtake from Bereshine for the lead? I don't think we will. He's a little bit too far back. Plus, it's not really much of a risk we want to take on lap 8 of 28, coming through towards turn 1, 6 back for now, but it is going to be right in the hunting zone of Dylan Warren. Further back, we can see Ishmael Fassi make a move in towards turn 1. That's a bit of a scrappy overtake with Daniel Kelton, who takes that P12 away. They're still going to be going side by side through turn 2 in towards turn 3. Can we see a move to be made? No, Ishmael Fassi, a bit of contact on the rear of Daniel Kelton's right tyres. They head through, and a bit of contact as well into the rear of the car as they head through in towards the end of this first sector. Not an ideal start for Ishmael Fassi, very scrappy, trying to make some moves, making a few mistakes. This isn't ideal at all for the Williams driver, because all it's going to do is bring the likes of Istvan Buki closer and closer if he keeps making these mistakes. They head down towards turn 11 yet again on lap 8, and you can see he's got a little bit more speed, I think, than Daniel, but Daniel's got a great defensive job so far, and yeah, Ishmael just can't find a way through. So I think at some point he's going to start using some of his battery. Further ahead we can see Uppbeat now to the inside of Shanaka Clay towards turn 12. To the inside he goes and takes that move. Shanaka's not even going to defend it. He knows that Jarno is quicker at this point than the rest, so now all the soft apart from Dylan Warren altogether sitting 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th in this race. So I don't think it'll be too long, maybe about 5 laps max before we see them peel off into the pits. Whether it's going to be mediums or hards, we'll see shortly, but all these on the hard tyres will go a lot longer, so we'll see lots of Xander Van Dyken and Daniel Kjelsen probably move up about 6 positions in the next 5 laps.
I wonder how many drivers are going to try and extend this soft stint as long as they can to potentially go on a set of the mediums towards the end of this Grand Prix, or which ones are going to pit early, get the undercut, and then go onto a set of the hards. It really is a game of chess at the minute. It's just about making the right move to benefit your Grand Prix. As you can see, all of them. That's a great shot of every single driver heading down that main straight, bar unfortunately Reese Linton, who's got damage on lap number 1. He's been trundling along at the back of this race, but we still have 20 drivers left in this Grand Prix, so no retirements thus far. Hopefully I'm not jinxed anything by saying that, but it seems like we are settling into a bit of a rhythm at this point. I can see on the timing sheets Ishmael Fassi is still all over the rear of Daniel Shelton. These two have been scrapping it out for a good few laps at this point, as is Otis Lawrence and Bench Shabakoni. Bench was leading this soft train before Shanaka Clay lost all those positions, and Bench was not able to get through on Jarno Ottman. I think Otis Lawrence, maybe that is going to be to the annoyance of him ever so slightly, and we could see potentially in the next few laps, if Bench Shabakoni makes a mistake, maybe Otis Lawrence will try and find a way through. Danny Berejnay, meanwhile, all over the back of Dylan Warren, will go up the inside and retake the lead of this Grand Prix. Dylan Warren, contact between himself and Duncan Hoffland. Duncan Hoffland tried to go up the inside, and now Danny Berejnay is going to be able to stretch that advantage at the front of the order. Dylan Warren maintains that P2 in this race. Duncan Hoffland, though, bit of a clumsy move, I'd say, making contact with Dylan Warren. We'll see what happens later on in this Grand Prix. Fingers crossed as well, no damage to that Aston Martin. I know these F1 cars can be a little bit fragile, however, they're all able to maintain DRS to Danny Berejnay. Dylan Warren still in second, Duncan Hoffland third.
Yeah, that's not something we see too often, is it, from Duncan Hoffland, misjudging his braking point in towards turn 12 and just tap the rear of Dylan. Luckily, they both could keep the car straight as they headed through, and unfortunately, they're going to lose. I think they might lose that DRS too. Berejnay down towards turn 1. Can Hoffland make an overtake? No, he can't. But further back, we can see Otis Lawrence trying to go around the outside of Bench Shabakoni into turn 1. A bit of a switch back from the McLaren. Can he make it work? No, he can't. Down towards turn 2, just a little bit too far back for now. But you can see he's eyeing up the Haas. He wants to get through it as quick as possible, but there's just no way through. That's such a horrible thing about this circuit. Sometimes you can get that there as train, and you're in that rhythm, you can't get out of it. So we'll see when it is before Otis Lawrence can make a move on Bench Shabakoni if he can get it down towards turn 11, but no, he's just not got much of a decent exit out of turn 9, so he's going to try and hold it down towards turn 12. But that gap between Dylan and Danny in towards turn 11 is 9/10 of a second, so still got that DRS, but it's very touch and go between that 1 second gap. Now Duncan Hoffland will be able to make the move without hitting the back of Dylan Warren this time. He's going to get it done before breaking done at turn 12, so Duncan to the inside. Dylan, I don't think he'll fight too hard for that position as they head down. No, he sits back for now and lets Duncan take that move, and nearly hits the back of Duncan himself, really turning the favour through in towards that hairpin. And over a Caraton sitting comfortably in fourth. I'm sure he will try and make a move somewhat on Dylan Warren soon, because those softs down, I think, are really near their dying stages at this point.
Who will pull the trigger first and come into the pit lane? Dylan Warren still leading the soft runners at the minute and has still integrated himself within these hard runners, but you can see the difference in grip at this point in the Grand Prix. It's so different to what we saw just 9 laps ago, where the softs were easily able to overtake the hard runners, and it just shows how quickly everything can change on this F1 23 game. The tyre drop-off is insane, as now Bench Shabakoni will be the first of the soft runners to come into the pit lane, presumably for a set of the hards to go to the end of this race. Meanwhile, Alvaro Caraton looking to get himself onto the podium ahead of Dylan Warren. Dylan Warren's going to lose that position. Really, no way to fight it back at this point. I think with the undercut being triggered by Bench Shabakoni, who goes onto a set of the medium compound tyres, we'll see multiple other runners come into the pits, strap on a set of the mediums or hards, and go to the end here.
Yeah, definitely. I can see Jarno up there, though, looking to get a move on Dylan Warren to pop himself into fourth position. They come through out of turns 9 and 10 in towards turn 11, and we'll see that DRSA down towards the hairpin, and that's where we'll see Jarno up there most likely make a move. As Philip Brezhnev, the first two, suffer a penalty, a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings on circuit, means he got 3 strikes on that track limit warning. Unfortunately, that gives him a penalty that will make him fall further and further down this race. Right, Jarno up there, bit of back to the inside line on Dylan Warren. They head down towards turn 12, and I think it will be the move for Jarno with me. Yes, it will. Great move there by the Flying Dutchman to pop himself into that top 4 now. The softs are all together. Dylan Warren, who was leading, now into 5th. Shanaka Clay, who was 2nd, down into 6th. So it's not going to be long before we see those soft tyre runners pit. We can see obviously Bench Shabakoni pitted earlier on. He's now on a brand new set of mediums. He's 11 seconds back from the DRS train, which goes from 1st all the way down to 18th in this race. So he'll catch up quite quickly on some of these hard runners, but obviously they'll pit onto a set of mediums, or even if they go bold onto a set of soft towards the end, it will be a lot quicker than the likes of these who started on that softer compound. So we'll see how the strategy works. Do we see any of the soft runners pit? We do. Dylan Warren straight in towards the pit, Shanaka Clay following in, Otis Lawrence as well, and Fabrizio and Nico stays out. So 4 of the soft runners in. Nicolas Longue leads them away down towards turn 1, but we've got Zan van Dijken right behind as they head through, but no move being made. So yeah, Nicholas going for a bit of a longer strategy. We'll see if that helps him or if it hinders him as the race continues. Lap 28, Danny Berejnay still leads them away.
Yeah, Bench Abercrombie with the undercut is going to likely be able to overtake all of these medium runners who have just come into the pit lane now. So Bench will be leading this train, but that one lap in difference, it doesn't seem like much now. But later on in the Grand Prix, when we're on lap number 27, 28, Bench Abercrombie's tyres are going to be completely shot and he'll have no chance of defending from anyone really behind him. Pitting early, it has those short-term gains, but it has those long-term losses, so you do have to be careful with how much you actually undercut by. Very interesting to see Nicholas Longuet stay out at this point in the Grand Prix. Now a big gap has been formed to all of the hard runners in front, to the point that Nicholas Longuet does not have any DRS, and Xander Van Dyken is going to be all over the rear of him, heading in towards turn number 12. Xander is closing to the back of Nico, but we've got the inside into the braking zone. Xander Van Dyken happy to sit behind Nicholas Longuet, but he's losing crucial tenths of a second to all of the hard runners up ahead. Would it have been smarter potentially for Xander to go for that move? That remains to be that's a question that remains to be unanswered at the minute, but we'll see what happens as Nicholas Longuet likely, Nathan, should come into the pit lane here.
Yeah, definitely will probably see him going to pit lane this lap. Or maybe he's trying to help his teammates out a bit by backing the field up a little bit to get Barry and he's a little bit close to this battle, but I don't think it's going to be something he'll be focused on too much, as obviously he's going to be focused on his main race himself. Right, coming through, Nicholas Longuet, he goes into pits very late though. It's a bit of a late turn in his pits for the Ferrari, so it will be now Xander Van Dyken leading that train away down towards turn 1, so fifth place now for the RHG driver. We've got Daniel Kelson 6th and Ishmael Fassi comfortably following behind the back of the Red Bull. Tries to make a move a few laps ago down here at turn 1, but just couldn't get it worked, and since then he hasn't really had an opportunity, but Xander Van Dyken a bit of lag there, and I think at one point it looks like he's going to go off track, but now he keeps that fifth for now as they head through in towards turn 3, and we can see the Bench Abercrombie still in that trainway, so he's the net leader of this race on those 2-lap old medium tires. We've got Shaneka Clay on the back of Dylan Moran, and to be fair, they haven't really gained that much. They gained 3/10 on that last lap, so they're not getting as much as they would like to on the back of Bench Abercrombie, so we'll see if that will hinder them as the race goes through. But Nicholas Longuet comes at 2.8 seconds back from this train. Obviously, they've got DRS, so they will gain down the straights, but it will be about where Nicholas can gain in the corners, along with Jake Benham as well, who pits. He's a further 3 seconds back from Nicholas Longuet, so he's in a bit of a poor situation so far in this race. Is the Mercedes driver's teammate, Jan May, comfortably running up in fourth, but they still have to pit in this race. You can see now Bench Abercrombie, that gap when he come out the pits was, I think, 11 seconds to Andrea Treb. You can it's now 6.7. It's come down by 5 seconds in the last 3 laps. So those mediums are definitely a lot quicker, but we'll see when those mediums start to die. As Otis Lawrence makes a move ahead of Shaneka Clay down in towards turn number 12, gets himself into 15th. Great move there from the upcoming stars. We can see further ahead Barry Burman having a bit of a fight with it. Pressionator through into also 16 to make contact, and that was nearly a race-ending incident between Barry and Philip as they come through. But yeah, when do you think we'll start to see some of these hard runners pit, Dan?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because Jake Benham is actually coming to the pit on that last lap alongside Nicholas Longuet, and of course Jake Benham started on the set of the hards going onto the mediums. It is a massive risk and a massive undercut, and all of his rivals up ahead, so we'll see how that works out for him as Daniel Shelson makes the move on Xander Van Dyken in towards turn number 1. Ishmael Fassi is going to do his best to go up the inside of the Haas driver, around the outside now through turn number 2. Brilliant move from Ishmael Fassi. There's Xander Van Dyken in the space of just 2 corners, loses 2 positions in this race. These guys are getting very racy at this point actually, and I wonder if that is meaning that they're going to think about coming into the pits soon. Of course, you want to be ahead of your rivals when you come into the box, and we'll see if Ishmael Fassi is brave enough to go for the move in towards turn number 12 on Daniel Shelson. Of course, no DRS for the Red Bull driver on the back of Jan Altmaier. The gap is 3.5 seconds, a little bit of lag there from Xander Van Dyken. Fingers crossed those don't plague this race, as here comes Ishmael Fassi down the straight now with DRS wide open, pulling to the inside line. Daniel Shelson thought about defending that position there, but it believes it's best to just let Ishmael Fassi go through. Now Xander Van Dyken as well, following down the inside there. Great stuff from Xander, very opportunistic to try and follow Ishmael Fassi through Daniel Shelson. Unfortunately, in all of that battling, it's come off worst.
Yeah, and all that battling is allowed, further back is allowed Otis Lawrence to get himself through with Dylan Warren, so now they've got a 1.3 second gap to Bench Abercrombie, who is running in 12th position. So if Otis can gain 3/10 in these next few corners, he could pop himself into that 1 second DRS zone of Bench Abercrombie. He could give himself a nice advantage over lots of Dylan, Shaneka and Fabrizio, who he had to pass earlier on in this stint. We can see Xander still fighting with Daniel. I think that's because Xander went into pitch as he has. So Xander Van Dyken, the first or the second of the hard runners into the pit lane off of his hard tyres. He'll head onto a set of medium tyres for the remainder of this race. We'll see. Obviously, they got such an undercut these guys have on Xander that he'll drop all the way down, probably about 5 or 6 seconds back from this net leading train as they head down towards turn 1. Dylan Warren following through on Otis Lawrence. Got a 2/10 gap. Could have gone for the move, but chose not to, as they just want to pull each other on. Use that DRS to advantage. Try and gain back to Ben Shabakoni, who's currently got a 1 second gap to Otis Lawrence. That gap coming down by a couple of tenths in that first sector. We'll see maybe a chance for an opportunity for a move down in towards turn 12, depending where Otis can gain through this next part of the track, through towards turns 8, then back to left at turn 9. The gap is going to be less than a second, so there will be DRS now for Otis Lawrence to head down in towards turn 12, giving a bit more advantage to the back of Ben Shabakoni. At this point, then he's going to catch on to the leading train.
I mean, Ben Shabakoni, once he catches up to the back, it's going to allow for all of the medium runners to close much greater. And now we're seeing further up the order once again, Istvan Pukki gone at the inside of Daniel Shelson for P6 in this race. You mentioned that earlier. With all that fighting, it's going to invite the likes of Istvan Pukki and Joseph Loke to go for these moves. However, Istvan Pukki actually gets shoved out wide ever so slightly by Shelson. Here comes Joseph Loke now on towards turn number 15. They go, great battling between all of these hard run of these tires. Definitely getting on in ages. Now Joseph Loke sticks the nose up the inside. Contact. Istvan Pukki sent into a spin, followed by Joseph Loke. Contact between the pair of them caused by Joseph Loke going up the inside there. Yellow flags are out in that third sector, but both of them luckily kept it out of the wall. Joseph Loke, I think that was a bit of an ambitious move there, and I gotta say, definitely his mistake. They'll be coming into the pit lane. Istvan Pukki for another race, once again being just sort of unlucky. Wrong place, wrong time for him. Definitely that is going to go the way of Joseph Loke in terms of penalties, I believe. Istvan really at no fault there. Istvan is going to come into the pit lane to retire the car. Very frustrated with how that has panned out for him, and his day is done.
Yeah, a bit of a shame there for Istvan Pukki. I think, yeah, it's definitely a bit too optimistic. I think it was definitely down to fault of Joseph Loke, who did go to pits. He's onto a set of mediums, but yeah, big shame. We don't see Joseph make those mistakes too often, but yeah, I think it was a bit of a shame for both of them. Unfortunately, Istvan Pukki going to end his day there and will be the first to retire out of all drivers. But further ahead, we can see Otis Lawrence now gaining in on the back of Ben Shabakoni through towards turn 11 there. They've got a 1/10 gap. DRS enabled for Otis Lawrence. Can he try and make a move ahead of the Haas? They head down towards turn 12. Inside line for Otis Lawrence. They head down, he does make the move there. Dylan Warren, can he try and make a move? Can he try and make it 3 wide? They will go 3 wide. Down in towards turn 12. Dylan Warren's going to have the inside on Otis, but he backsides at the braking zone, so we let Otis through. So Ben Shabakoni going to be eaten up by this train, because we know it's only 1 lap older tyres. But look how much it's harmed him. They gained 2 seconds in about 5 laps. He's now down to 3rd in that train. Going to be eaten up by Shanaka Clay and I think for Victor Donoso very shortly. So that is not good at all for Ben Shabakoni. So he's going to have to try and hold on as much as he can to this DRS train. But that gap to Philip Pressure, it's 1.4 seconds as they come through towards turn 16. Let's see. I don't think Otis can get DRS this time around, but I think by next lap Otis probably could get some DRS. They come through, and I think there will be some pit stops. There will 4 drivers into pits. It will be Danny Brochet from the lead. Duncan Hoffman is in second. Daniel Hjertsen and Philip Pressure into pits, which means Ishmael Fassi takes the lead ahead of Barry Burman, who started all the way at the back of the grid. Otis also has only got a 2-second gap to Barry Burman.
Here comes now Shanaka Clay up the inside into the braking zone at turn number 1. Ben Shabakoni loses yet another position, this time by to Shanaka Clay. So in the span of just 3/4 of a lap, Ben Shabakoni has gone from the net leader of this race to now net P4. Very unfortunate for him this evening thus far, but he's still in that train. Having a look at Alvaro Caraton, who looks like is now the leading medium runner of all those that have pitted from the hard compounder tyres. He is 1.8 seconds to the rear of Jake Benham. Of course, Jake was running all the way down in 16th position, 16th, 17th for the majority of this race. So, of course, it's going to be very likely that Alvaro Caraton has been able to catch up very quickly and will be all over the back of him. Meanwhile, further up the order, here comes Fabrizio Donoso up the inside of Ben Shabakoni, who continues to sink down the order. And Nathan, I do believe that is due to the tyre drop-off that Ben Shabakoni is experiencing at this point. He's got 1 lap old tyres than everyone else on the medium runners in that train, and I think he's just been caught out, and so he is going to sink now to a net P5. Otis Lawrence still the net leader of this Grand Prix. Dylan Warren didn't decide to go up the inside that time by. However, we'll see once Ishmael Fassi and Barry Burman come into the pit lane how this race shapes up with all 19 drivers on a set of the mediums.
Yeah, I think we've got a very exciting ending to come. Ishmael Fassi and Barry Burman into the pits. They go from the lead 2 of this race. Winning Otis Lawrence now takes the lead. I've started down in 16th. He'll be the net lead racer ahead of Dylan Warren in second and Shanaka Clay in third position. But you've got the likes of Alvaro Caraton, Jon Ortmeier, Danny Bergevin, Duncan Hoffland, all going to be trying to close in, along with the likes of Ishmael and Barry as well, who've just exited the pits. So they're going to be under a lot of pressure once this race comes into its closing stages. But at this point, Alvaro Caraton, I think he's probably in the best position on track. But he's ahead of Jarno. Danny in that over already pitted, but he's only got 1 lap older tyres than the likes of Danny and Duncan. He's got the same lap older tyres than Jarno, but brand new 4 lap newer tyres than those in the lead in 7. So Alvaro Caraton will be flying through his field. I think once he gets ahead of Jake, he can then fly after Nicholas Bromshaw. We might see a bit of teamwork possibly between the two Mercedes as they head down in towards turn 11. Jake Benham going to be, if he can, try and hold up the likes of Alvaro Caraton to allow Jon Ortmeier to get a move done, to try and close in more to the back of the Williams, but it won't be much he can do down towards turn 12. As you can see, Alvaro with the inside line ahead of Jake Benham. Can Jake try and go for a bit of a late lunge? I don't think he will. He lets his teammate Jon Ortmeier through as they head now in towards the red zone at turn 12, and it will be Jake also under pressure from Danny Bergevin in towards the red zone at turn 13. Lets off and lets Danny through, and he'll be trying to hold up lots of Duncan Hoffman, Zan Van Dijk and Daniel Kjelton, who are going to be on better tyres. So let's see, can Jake try and hold him up? No, he can't really do much to Duncan. He has to try and go for the inside in towards turn 16. Try not to do with Josie Float, please. Jake Benham, no, he backs, so he doesn't have the pace to catch up to the back of Duncan through that section. But you can see, Dan, on this game, the tyre model is so different. These, on the last game, you'd have drivers fighting on those different tyre offsets, but this game, there's just nothing Jake can do to Duncan.
No, I mean, it's impossible to defend from all of these guys who started on the hards. Jake Benham pitting very early. He's got himself into the train, but I'd imagine as this race continues to go on, he's going to continue to sink down further and further the order. So it's not been a good Grand Prix for Jake Benham. Of course, missing qualifying altogether, starting from the back. I think he just made the wrong strategy call, and unfortunately that is going to mean likely he's not going to score any points. But of course, we've seen some crazy things happen here in this season, in particular with late safety cars. Maybe we're going to see the same situation here at the Circuit of America's Rieslington with the fastest lap. Of course, we don't actually offer the 1 point for the fastest lap, so it's not going to have any impact in this Grand Prix. We'll have a look at Nicolas Longuet on the back of Ben Jabbar-Conye. Of course, Nico with just 2 lap fresher tyres. We'll see what kind of difference that makes. And Nicolas Longuet soon is going to have to start thinking about his wing mirrors, because he'll see an angry Dutchman rather than Spaniard, as Danny Bergevin also tries to follow through on his Mercedes counterpart. There it is. Danny Bergevin 2 into 1 makes that move stick and leads this medium runner train on his 2 lap old medium tyres. 1.9 seconds, almost 2 seconds to the rear of Nicolas Longuet. These guys, Nathan, they've got to pick them off one at a time and then work their way to the front of the order.
Yeah, but they're catching so quickly. The gap's 1.6 seconds now between Danny and Nicolas Longuet as they come through and towards turn 19. So I don't think it'll be too long at all before we see some of these battling emerging with these in the top 6 down from those 7th down towards that 10th position. As they come through and towards the final corner, the gap 1.3 seconds. Bit of a missed apex there from Bergevin. Could lose him a bit of time, but still those tyres better. We can get on the power earlier than those ahead. Then Nicolas Longuet, can he look for a move on Ben Jabbar-Conye to the outside? On he goes round into turn 1. Very close to contact between the two, and Joseph Floke also with a 3-second penalty, but Nicolas Longuet couldn't find that move ahead of Ben Jabbar-Conye, so that now puts him under more pressure, because Danny Bergevin is very close to that 1 second. He might use a bit of action to try and catch and get that 1 second indefinitely as they come through in towards the end of this first sector. Can see a lot more grip being used by Danny with those newer tyres. The gap's now 7/10, so it's easily within a second. And Danny Bergevin, if there was a bit more of a longer straight, could have even got through before turn 11. The gap's 4/10. He gained 6/10 in just a matter of 3 or 4 corners. There's nothing these can do to fight him. So Nicolas Longuet, bit of a late lunge on the back of Ben Jabbar-Conye. 4x from the both of them now. Bergevin going to look to make it 3 wide down towards turn 12. He's got that DRS. He's got that better pace. Can he use some battery? Will use some battery to get himself ahead of the Haas, then ahead of the Ferrari down towards turn 12 they go, and Danny Bergevin now into the top 5 and has to chase after the top 4. So I think we'll have a very excited ending.
Served up on a silver platter for him. Nicolas Longuet going for the move towards turn number 11, sacrificed both his and Ben Jabbar-Conye's exit and allow for Danny Bergevin to go up the inside. Danny's not done there though. Jan Ortmeier further back behind is through on Ben Jabbar-Conye in towards turn number 16. I think Bench is actually just about going to hold that one off there. We've got to keep an eye on the Dutchman. Danny Bergevin though on the cusp of getting onto the podium positions ahead of Fabrizio Donoso and Shanaka Clay. Now in towards turn number 20 already. Danny Bergevin through turn number 20 will make that move stick up the inside of Fabrizio Donoso. Now is going to be all all over the rear of Shanaka Clay in towards turn number 1. Will he go for a late move? We know that he loves abusing his brake pedals, and now Danny Berger up the inside of Shanaka Clay. Absolutely amazing stuff from the Hungarian driver. Makes it a double podium for McLaren. It's just Dylan Warren and then Otis Lawrence until he leads this race. We'll see what happens on lap number 21 of 28.
Yeah, also a beautiful move from Duncan Hoffman. Ran the outside at turn 2 on bench number. He puts himself into 9th. He's also on the back of Alvaro Carreton. But there he's battling all over the grid, all the way down into 10th. There's battling everywhere. People trying to make moves. Nicholas Longa on the back of Fabrizio Donoso in towards Sullivan. Can he send a late lunge on the back of the Aston Martin? No, he can't. Xander Van Dijken with a 3-second penalty down in 12th position, unfortunately for him. Duncan Hoffman trying to fight with Alvaro Carreton on the exit at turn 11 down towards turn 12. And I think Alvaro just covered that move off just for now. But further ahead we can see that's Yana Watme making a move ahead of Nicholas Longa to pop himself into 6th position. And can we see Fabrizio try and make a move? No, he can't. He's going to be close to Shanaka Clay, but not close enough to make a move. So now you're not me. Going to be looking to try and get himself ahead of Fabrizio Donoso. Jenny Brezhnev on the back of Dylan Warren trying to make a move in towards turn 14. What is Danny Brezhnev doing? Trying to make moves everywhere on the grid. He's going to have to try and go round the outside at turn 15. Can he make it work on Dylan? No, he can't. Has to go off circuit there. Does Danny Brezhnev try to go for a move? And at the moment, he's looking for a move everywhere. He knows he's quick. He just wants to get that move done. They'll come through in towards turn 19. Can he make the move in towards end? No, he won't be that silly. Surely will Danny Brezhnev going to have to get down towards turn 1 as they head out to the final corner to begin lap 22 of 28. You'll know what me are also on the back of Fabrizio Donoso, but on board with Danny Brezhnev down towards turn 1. He's going to use a bit of battery. No, he's not. He's going to use no battery at all. He's just going to have that pure slipstream down towards that first corner. Braking later than the likes of Dylan Warren pops himself into P2. It's a McLaren 1-2. So far, Yana Watme ahead of Fabrizio Donoso, who's also going to be fighting with his teammate Duncan Hoffman in towards turn 2. Dan, you don't know where to look because it's battling everywhere on the grid.
Duncan Hoffman then in towards the S's, tried for the move on his teammate with 5 lap fresher tyres. Nothing to give this time by, and Duncan Hoffman will concede that move for the time being though. But Fabrizio Donoso, I'd imagine, is not going to make it too difficult on his teammate here. Is now in towards lap number 22. Reece Linton comes into pit lane. Both Alpha Tauris unfortunately out of this Grand Prix. Who is going to win this race? It really is. It's the question on everyone's mind at the moment. As now Alvaro Carreton is through on Nicholas Longa. Nico almost out of the top 10 points paying position. It's been a difficult day for him, but starting from the back, that is to be expected. Here comes Duncan Hoffman on his teammate. Further up the order though, Danny Berger leading this Grand Prix for the first time since lap number 1, I believe it is, as well, or whenever it was, I don't know, but he's leading once again on lap 22, through on Otis Lawrence with 5 lap fresher tyres. It looks like this is Danny's race to lose at this point. Jan Ortme still fighting in some traffic, but if he's able to keep within the DRS of Danny Berger, Nathan, we could see a fantastic scrap towards the end between these two.
It could do, but it just depends how Otis Lawrence and Dylan defend against Jan Ortme. If they have a good defence, Danny can try and pull away because we know he's a lot quicker. He's already pulled 5 tenths on the back of Otis already. They head out the final corner. Otis does have DRS down towards turn 1, but he's not going to gain that much. It will make much of a difference. He's going to gain to about, what, 4 tenths, 3 tenths in towards the brake zone at turn number 1. We can see further back Duncan Hoffman trying to make a move on Shanaka Clay to the inside line. He makes a move, he brakes later. To the inside goes Duncan Hoffman. Can he make that move work? He will try it, but Shanaka's going to try and stick up the inside at turn 2. He does keep it up the inside, but just hasn't got the grip on the exit. So Duncan Hoffman now into that top 5. Brilliant move by the Dutchman. They come through in towards this next section of the circuit. Otis Lawrence hanging onto the back of Danny Berger quite nicely. They come through towards turns 8 and 9, and still I think Otis will keep that DRS to the back of Danny, and Danny wants to ride that DRS ASAP. He doesn't want Yono Upmere to be in that DRS. He doesn't want him to be on the back. He wants to have a decent victory. He wants to have a good chance of taking that victory without any pressure in this race. We can see Andrew Tarabikin also with a 5-second penalty for corner cutting, but he's down in 17th, so it doesn't really affect him too much in this race. But back down towards turn 12 they go. I don't think we've got much moves being eyed on this time around, unless we can see Duncan try and gain in on Yarno. It's not going to be enough to make a move, but he will gain in slightly on the Flying Dutchman as they head in towards the braking zone. Otis Lawrence gaining into the back of Danny Berger, 2.5 tenths as they head in towards the braking zone, but yet again no move to be made by Otis. And I think actually these guys who did that mega run could still get some in this race, Dan.
Yeah, I think Otis Lawrence, he's got more battery than Danny Berger. If he's able to keep with his McLaren teammate, he could definitely take the fight to the Hungarian in the final couple of laps. On lap number 23 though of 28, we are coming through to 5 to go in this Grand Prix. A lot of these medium tyres on the likes of Otis Lawrence, Dylan Moore and Shanaka Clay, they're all definitely going to start to be feeling the effects of wear. Fabrizio Donoso in the top 10, getting himself a 3-second time penalty. That will drop him massively down the order and out of that top 10, as we'll see what happens as this race continues along. We haven't talked much about Ismail Fassi and Barry Burman. They have found their way into the train with much fresher tyres than everyone else at this point, and in fact, here's Ismail Fassi up the inside of Jake Benham, getting himself into 11th with 7-lap fresher tyres, and Ben Abercrombie, it's going to be an easy overtake for him and getting himself into a points-paying position. Been a great recovery from Ismail Fassi today, of course, fighting with Daniel Shelston for much of it in this race. Lost a lot of time, was running out of the top 10 for the majority of this Grand Prix, could find himself some decent points in this fight.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's got a good chance of getting himself possibly into that top 6, top 5, depending how these tyres ahead drop off. As we can see from the back, I think that was Alvaro Carlson looking for a bit of a lunge on to Shanaka Clay. They head down towards turn 12 yet again. We go for the 24th time in this race, 4 times left down this straight before they will finish this race. Leon Ortmere again in on Dylan Warren. Can he make a sense of the inside on Dylan? No, he can't. He's going to be close up, but not close enough to make an overtake. Further back, Nicholas Longay going for a bit of a lunge on Donoso in towards turn 12, and now we'll be off track for both of them nearly. Donoso off the circuit down at turn number 13. He won't be happy with that one. He's going to try and fight back on the back of Nicholas Longay, but all that fast has brought Ismail Fassi within a second of Fabrizio Donoso. So we'll see what Ismail Fassi can do. He started in 10th, so any position ahead of this is an improvement for Ismail Fassi in this race. We can see yet again further ahead Jona Watmere all over the back of Dylan Warren. I think it's inevitable, isn't it? Once Jona gets through, it's more of a when, not an if, isn't it, Dan?
Jana's pushing at this point. He's all over the back of Dylan Warren. His teammate Jake Benham taking a 3-second time penalty. Jana Watmere on the cusp of getting into that top 3 and onto the podium positions. Here he is all over the back of Dylan Warren. Dylan defending to the inside. Jana Watmere will go the long way round in towards turn number 1, potentially looking for the switchback on Dylan. Great defense there from the Alfa Romeo driver, and will be able to maintain position ahead of Jana Watmere. These two actually very close in the title fight, running 3rd and 4th at the minute, just the other way round. Jana Watmere, of course, is 3rd. Dylan Warren is 4th. This is for some very valuable points here this evening. Jana Watmere has to finish ahead of Dylan Warren if he wants to be able to stay ahead of his adversary in this title fight. And of course, Jana Watmere needs every point he can. Ismail Fassi, championship leader, down in 10th. Joseph Loke, 2nd in the running. He is all the way down in 18th position, so it's not looking good for either of the contenders this evening. Ismail Fassi, though, looking to recover in this Grand Prix, gets through on Fabrizio Donoso. Further up ahead, here's Alvaro Carlson looking to the inside of Shanaka Clay, former Williams teammate. These two, they both work together now, fighting as rivals in towards turn number 12. There goes Shanaka Clay, brilliant defense, and meanwhile further back behind the other Williams of Ismail Fassi through on Nicholas Longay. Lap 25 of 28. We still got some good few laps of racing left to go in this one, and Nathan, you don't know where to look.
No, you don't. There's battling everywhere on this grid, and I'm on board with Ismail Fassi because he's getting in quickly on the back of his teammate. We'll see how the two Williams work together. Does Alvaro let Ismail through, or does Ismail have to fight for that position? He's on better tyres than all of those further ahead. He's on, I think, what's that, 6-lap old better tyres than Shanaka Clay, Dylan Warren and Otis Lawrence. So he's going to be in such a better position when it comes to the fight in those 3 drivers. They head down in towards turn 1. Again, we can see further ahead people moving at the slipstream in towards turn 1. Jana Watmere just sitting behind Dylan Warren for now, not keen on making a move just yet. But Daniel Bergeron is still in that comfortable position on 5-lap older, newer tyres than Otis Lawrence. But to be fair, Otis Lawrence is doing a good job of just keeping behind. He's not really dropping back off his McLaren teammate too much at this point, so Otis could still be in contention to fight for victory after starting 16th in this race. Remember, said one person predict that in the chat. Maybe they're not too far from that prediction being correct. We come through with Ismail Fassi. He's got a lot more pace than his teammate Alvaro Carlson. They head to turn 9 through towards turn 10. Can we see a lunge? Because Shanaka Clay's dropped out that 1 second to the top 5, so he could be under more pressure than towards turn number 12.
Well, of course, Danny Beresley and Otis Lawrence, despite both being in the McLaren, they are not teammates. Danny Beresley, of course, a reserve driver. Otis Lawrence fighting in the McLaren. These two don't have any obligation to work together at the moment. No incentive to do so either. 3 wide further back behind the two Williams and Shanaka Clay. Ismail Fassi through on them both. Alvaro Carlson remains in P7. Shanaka Clay loses 2 places in 1. That was incredibly synchronized by both Williams to pull to the inside at the same time. And Ismail Fassi is through with the freshest tyres in this top 6. Could he be a dark horse in this Grand Prix to potentially take a podium? We're coming up towards 2 laps to go. Danny Beresley still leading with 5-lap fresher tyres on both Otis Lawrence and Dylan Warren. Jana Watmere, though, on 10-lap old medium, still has an advantage over the 2 drivers on the podium. It's anyone's game at this point, Nathan, and we've just got 2 laps to go now.
Yeah, I think any of these top 6 at this point could even win this race. It's that hard to call because they're all in different, they've all got different advantages and disadvantages over each other, but they head back down towards turn 1. No moves being made on this occasion, but Ismail Fassi comfortably within a 9/10 gap to Duncan Hoffman. They head into turn 1. We'll see how far behind Ismail Fassi is to Duncan as they head in towards the braking zone at turn 11. We'll see what type of position that Ismail is, if he's able to make a move, if he's not able to make a move on this occasion. But I think another thing we notice is Duncan Hoffman is right at the back of Jan Otmir. He's also keen to get himself a move ahead of the Flying Dutchman in towards turn 12. So we'll see who makes moves where on this grid. But I think at the moment, as we said, anything can make this victory work, even though there's between Ismail Fassi and Otis Lawrence, there's a 6-lap tyre difference. And that just shows how sometimes that DRS train can sometimes ruin the racing.
Yeah, of course, DRS trains, very commonplace here in league racing. It's a shame that that is the case, but it's just something we have to deal with at this point. Jan Otmir closing to the back of Dylan Warren, however, having to defend from Duncan Hoffland, who's getting the elbows out. Meanwhile, further back behind, Nicolas Songe through on Shanaka Clay to get himself into P8. It's been a decent performance from Nicolas Songe this evening, starting from the back of the grid. Of course, Shanaka as well has climbed up from 12th into 9th. He was as high as, 2nd at some point in this race. Definitely sunk down the order. Softs seemingly weren't the best strategy to start on, but this time by Nathan, we are 1 lap to go. White flag this time by for Danny Berger, starting on pole position. Not common that we see drivers starting on pole take victory.
Yeah, and we'll see what he can do. Shanaka Clay gets a 3-second penalty, so he'll also drop out the points, meaning that we'll have Barry Burma and Dan Bench-Aberconyu possibly promoted into that top 10. But we head down towards turn 1 for the final time. Jan Otmir looking for Melvin Dillon, not going to make it there. He wants it down towards turn 12. That's probably the best place to make a move either way on this circuit. Further back, Ismail Fassi gaining, but it's not much of a gain onto the back of Duncan Hoffman as they come out to turn 1 and 2. So we'll see what moves can be made down towards that DRS, and they come through in towards this SE section 3, down towards turn 7, and still Yano pushing more than ever on the back of Dylan Warren. They head through towards turns 8 and 9. He's close enough to make a move, possibly in towards turn 11. You can see he's pushing hard. He's using battery on the back of the Alfa Romeo. They're heading towards the breakers at turn 11. He's not going to be close enough just yet as they head down in towards there. So we'll have to see moves being made down towards turn 12 then, but this could get chaotic.
Here they go, final time, the potential final opportunity in towards turn number 12. Danny Berger pulling away from Otis Lawrence at the front of the order, but all eyes are on Jan Otmir now, looking to get himself onto the podium as he looks to the inside of Dylan Warren, who's going to heavily defend that inside to the outside line for Jan Otmir. He goes for the move with 4-lap fresher tyres down at Dylan Warren. Will have the move now on the inside of turn number 13 into turn 14. They go. Dylan Warren going to lose that place to the Flying Dutchman, getting himself onto the podium. But as we look to the lead at this race, it is Danny Berger. Otis Lawrence was close for a long time in this one, but it is going to be the Hungarian on debut this season to come through the final few corners as Duncan Hoffman and Dylan Warren scrap out behind. Dylan's off the circuit. Through the final corner they go. Danny Berger is going to take victory here in USA as they're all squabbling for position further back behind. Jan Otmir in 3rd, Duncan Hoffman 4th, Dylan Warren ends up in 5th as Ismail Fassi comes home in 6th position. Fabi retires across the line. Something happened with him there, but I think the penalties dropped him out of the points paying positions anyways. But it is Danny Berger on debut this season taking the win ahead of Otis Lawrence also on debut, and Jan Otmir just can't seem to break that barrier and get himself into 1st or 2nd. He'll come 3rd for the 3rd time this season.
Yeah, 3rd, 8th for Jan Otmir. So it's an MPS show where he got 2nd for most races in the season. It's a little bit like that, but here at WOR it's only going to be 3rd for Jan Otmir, but still a brilliant race here. Danny and Otis making their first appearances, both for the same team, taking a 1-2 here today, and we'll see where that shapes up in the championship. But Danny will probably put himself in around that top 6, top 7 in the championship. But still, Josie Float now started, I think, about 15th, finished 16th. He'll drop down probably to behind Nicolas Longue. So not ideal at all for the Alfa Romeo driver, who at one point was looking to be championship favourites in this season. But Jano will move up into 2nd. Dylan Warren will move up into 3rd in the championship, Dan, which is something which is great for the young driver, isn't it, for Dylan Warren to be now 3rd ahead of many of these drivers that have been racing in esports for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Warren had a dip off on F1 21, F1 2021, and then F1 2022 as well. But he's really revitalised himself here on this new game, being a part, of course, the Ferrari development scheme. He's doing a fantastic job at the minute, and I am here for it. I've been a big Dylan Warren fan all the way since F1 2019. We used to league race together in some really small leagues on PlayStation. So Dylan Warren is a driver that I'm very happy to be doing well here in WOR Tier 1. As you see all the drivers celebrating atop the podium. We'll have a look at the results. It's a McLaren 1-2. Of course, Danny Bergevin, a reserve driver, not going to be taking any points home for the team from Woking. But Otis Lawrence on debut this evening. A fantastic result to get himself into P2. Jarno Watmir, once again for the third time this season, ends up in P3 ahead of Duncan Hoffland, the driver I don't think gets talked about enough. 2 fourth places in a row. He's done fantastic this season. Dylan Warren, of course, in 5th. Ishmael Fassi 6th. 7th for Caraton. 8th was Nicholas Onge. Barry Burrowman, a quiet P9 for him. Good day, I'd say, from 18th on the grid. And Daniel Shelson will round out that top 10 with Jabba Conny, Shanaka Clay, Jake Benham, Philip Prognator, Andre Tarabukin, Xander Van Dyke, and Joseph Loke and Fabrizio Donoso all finishing outside the top 10, with Reese Linton and Istvan Pookie not finishing this. That brings us to the end of what was a very fun, very enthralling United States Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. A fantastic circuit. And of course, once again, it provides fantastic racing.
Indeed, I think that was a brilliant race, especially all the way towards the end. People battling all over the grid, which is always something great to see. Not especially at the lead of the self between Otis and Danny, but further back there was moves being made all over the grid. And yet again, we saw after turn 12 through towards turn 15, great battling between many drivers on the grid, and it always produces great battling. That section of the circuit does. And yeah, I think it was a brilliant race. I was excited to see how it went, and I think it went very well. And actually, we do have someone in the interview room, Dan.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'll bring us over to the interview scene, and we can have a look at who we are going to be talking to first this evening. It is Otis Lawrence. We will drag him in now. Otis, welcome for the first time this season.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is well today.
We are very well after that performance this evening, starting from the back, ending up in P2. A fantastic performance from yourself, but coming into this one, you haven't had any WOR experience in Season 16. Was confidence a little bit shaken?
Not really. I mean, I've been practicing a lot for the esports season, so driving the game a lot. I'm very happy with the result today. Obviously, I did try the last of his challenge, didn't work, but I got close to it. With the P2, but yeah, I'm very happy with the drive, and it's good to be back, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, coming into this one, you opted to start on the hard compound of tyres. Oh, wait, softs. Sorry, started on the softs, and for some drivers, it didn't work out all too well. We saw multiple soft runners slip down the order towards the end of the race, like Shanaka Clay and Ben Chabakrony, but for you, it worked an absolute treat. What guided that decision?
Honestly, Alex Lamotte, my engineer, did really well with strategy. I think the pit lap was perfect, and I think we got a bit of luck in it as well. So, yeah, I'm very happy with that strategy. It worked very well, and thanks to the team for giving me a good strategy.
And now with that P2, shuttling yourself into the WOR season, are we going to see you back here in the interview room in future races?
I hope so. No controversy, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully we're in the next one.
I mean, really well done from me. That's all the questions I've got. Nathan, anything you want to say to our P2 finisher today?
Yes, Otis, thanks for taking on board my message in DMs earlier on.
Yeah, I told you.
And you was right.
Yeah,
anyway,
I was, thankfully.
Yeah, brilliant move. Brilliant finish in the second, and hopefully we get to see you a little bit further up here in the remaining races this season. So yeah, have a good one.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you to Otis Lawrence for joining us in the commentary box. Gotta say, an incredibly well-worked podium from him today, starting right down at the back of the grid. We've not got anyone in the interview room at the minute, so I will quickly bring us back over to the intermission scene now, and we can talk a little bit more about that race. But it was Danny Bergevin starting from pole position, winning this Grand Prix. Nathan, Danny, of course, is a very well-versed esports driver, 2 Constructors championships for 2 different teams. Of course, working alongside Jan Watmir for much of his career, back in Alfa Romeo in the 2020-21 season, I believe it was. And of course, now in the Mercedes. He's an incredibly well-experienced driver, well-known in the scene, and he's still got it.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant to see Danny back at the top. It's always lovely to see him near the top of the grid, and yeah, it was great to see. I think coming into the next races, whether he races more or not, I'm not sure. If he does, I'm sure we'll see him fight even more. But it was also lovely to see Otis Lawrence back on the podium, one of the youngest drivers, I think, in the Tier 1 scene here at WR. Great to be back on the podium. Yano as well. that win, he needs it, but he just can't get it every single time. He's so close. And I think maybe a few more laps, maybe he could have pushed after like Sir Otis and Danny. But yeah, I think I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I just think he's just unlucky sometimes. Even though he's on brilliant pace every week and just things don't go perfect. But I think all in all, I think one driver we never talk about enough is Duncan Hoffland. He's a brilliant driver. Finished fourth twice. You said earlier on, Dan, fourth in the past 2 races. I think he's definitely someone teams. Obviously, he's part of the Aston Martin development team. I think they'll definitely be keeping an eye on for future seasons in esports, because I think he's definitely got the potential. I think he's got more of the potential than many drivers. So yes, we'll see maybe what he can do in the future races this season. Obviously, we've got 11 rounds, so that's 6 to go. I think the championship is still on, and Ishmael Fassi, I think even though we finished 6th, still a bit of a poor appearance from him from what we've seen so far.
I think it was better than it could have been, honestly. Of course, it started out pretty, it looked bad for him. He got, of course, invalidated that lap in qualifying, then sunk to about 13th for the majority of the race, but he really did nail the pit strategy, going longer than everyone else, having the fresher tyres towards the end, making up that gap, and then going for the positions. Ends up in P6. I think definitely helped out by Alvaro Carreton. It seems like the synergy between those two really is the best it has been down at Williams. Of course, Alvaro Carreton was known for working really well with Shanika Clay, but I just think that those two, they work so well together, Ishmael and Alvaro, and it rewards them both. They've got great team play, great synergy, and I'm really excited to see how that sort of relationship blossoms in the next few years. Maybe Alvaro Carreton, he's been around since 2018, but he's still keeping up with pace for a long time. So I definitely think that Alvaro, he's still got it. It's great to see, really, all these experienced esports drivers who've been racing for years, still taking the fight to the young guys. I've always been a bit of an old head when it comes to esports in particular. I've always loved the older guys, and I think that remains true in F1 Esports as well. As I'll quickly bring us over to the intermission, just so I can check on the Discord if anyone else, not the intermission scene, the interview scene, just check if anyone else is in there. Doesn't seem like it. So I'll pass back over, and Nathan, I believe that is everything we have to talk about this evening. Yeah,
nothing left from me apart from that was a brilliant race, and thank you everyone yet again for joining us in the chat for this race. And obviously are we back next week, or is this our final week for the year of 2023? Isn't it?
I don't believe we're coming back next week. So I think 2023 might be done and dusted for WOR, if I can be corrected by anyone in the live chat who has better knowledge.
Mexico's next.
Yeah. I mean, if I could be corrected by anyone in the live chat who has better knowledge of me than the calendar, I'm the commentator here, and I don't even know the calendar, but I do believe that this is our last race of 2023.
Yeah, which is this year's gone really quick. It doesn't feel like it's already the last time we'll be here in 2023 before we get to 2024. But yeah, it was. I think this year's been brilliant for league racing, hasn't it? In terms of the popularity that has been gained.
It has been amazing,
record breaking.
League racing on F1 23 in particular has felt better than ever. F1 22 was such a sluggish game. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's gone now. It doesn't really matter. F1 2022 was not a good game. They've stepped up. Fair play to EA. There's still bugs and glitches like there is going to be with every single game, but F1 23 is a fantastic game, and it has made league racing even better, and I felt better than ever coming here every single week commentating for WOR and PSGL as well when I've not been sick. It's been so fun. So thank you to everyone who has made 2023 possible, and I hope for bigger and better things coming into 2024. Mexico is up next on the calendar. We're keeping it in North America. We'll see how that one pans out. Mexico is one of my favourite circuits. I'm really looking forward to that one there. But once again, thank you to everyone watching here this evening. We had some great viewership. Once again, I believe we hit 2,200 viewers at one point, which typically in the second season of a game cycle is really good numbers. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and of course talking to us in the live chat. It's been great to interact with you all. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the WOR YouTube channel. We've grown immensely in 2023, but we're reaching newer heights in 2024. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twitter at WOR League. And if you want to keep up to date with all your WOR news, you can join the Discord. The link should be in the description. If you want to follow myself On Twitter, it is at DanfieldF1_. And then if you want to follow Nathan, it is RichieF1 with the I's replaced by ones. Thank you everyone for tuning in to World Online Racing in 2023. 2024 will be bigger than ever, and we want you to be a part of it. So thank you everyone once again so much for tuning in. We will see you next year. Thank you and good night.